Whenever you're ready in the back, just give me a thumbs up and we'll, all right. Good evening. I will now call to order the Monday, May 4th, 2026 regular town council meeting. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. It always sounds good when everybody's doing that in unison. All right. Up next on the agenda, first item is the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments from councilors? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I got a first from Vice President Burke, a second from Councilor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is request to speak on agenda items. We have essentially 3 items that have been requested here. We've got a number of petitions that have come through. Obviously, as many of you know, our rules are for 15 minutes to 3 minutes a time, but in situations like this, we certainly have been known to suspend the rules. So if there is an appetite from that for council, I would entertain that motion.
I move to suspend the rules.
Second.
So I have a first from Councilor Sampson, a second from Councilor Stein. Jeez. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so we're going to go in order. Here's how this works. We've got 3 minutes. I'll set a timer on my phone. When we get to 2 minutes, I'll give you 1 finger left, the appropriate finger left. There we go. Now we're all right. Now we're all right. And then we'll, when the timer goes off the phone, we'll shut it down from there. I do want to make note that we've got the 3 items we're going to listen to, and we're going to go in this order: comp plan, the Pulte presentation, and then the Woodland Grove. And they've been split up here in order that they came in those different items. It is worth noting that the Pulte item has sent a request to continue to the next town council meeting, which would be, we would do that to the June 1st. I believe it's the June 1st town council meeting. We would not put that in a morning meeting for you guys to try to come out here in the morning. So, but it's just worth noting there. So those of you that want to come up and speak about that and not stick around for the rest, you certainly don't have to do that.
Will we be opening up public comment at the June meeting for anything continued?
I don't know why we wouldn't. I feel like it's a great question. I feel like the reason some items are continued, or the reason some items may be continued, is because there's still dialogue that's taking place, which would certainly seem to.
Yeah, I've seen the Planning Commission in the past, limit it to new or different arguments.
Nope, I would not imagine we would do that.
Okay.
So if there, as I call your name, if you would please, when you come up here, just state your name and address for the record and for correction in case I pronounce it incorrectly, and I'm sorry if I do, and we'll just start going from there. So the first person up is it Josh DeVelvis? Am I saying that right? Or Josh, if you're here? Again, while Josh is on his way up, once you get up here, just say your name and address for the record, and you'll get 3 minutes, and I'll start the
Jason, do you want to have
timer.
the next person speak?
Yeah, face Snodgrass. You'll be up next, so.
Thank you very much. Just one confirming question. I think we're going to do the comprehensive plan comments first. Is that correct? Is that the order?
Yeah, the comprehensive plan, did I?
No, I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah, so you're down here for comp plan?
Comp plan.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay, yep, perfect.
Very good. My name is Josh DeVelvis. I live at 2470 South US 421. I've been there since 2017. My comments on comp plan will be quite simple. The request would be continue the conventional subdivision through the section, I think, in discussion, this pie slice of mixed residential. Request would be continue from the east to the west conventional subdivision all the way to 421. If I understand correctly, there is a Michigan Road overlay that will allow certain limited commercial uses along 421 as needed. So I think this allows the area to grow and diversify tax base, which is clearly one of the requests. Conventional subdivision would be my preference in that area. And as we build out the commercial pieces of this story going forward, the request would be rural design, which of course is more trees, large setbacks, green spaces. That would be what I have in mind for rural development. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, Faye Snodgrass, you're up next, and then I guess maybe, is it Garrett, is it Whiteholder? Sorry, I'm saying it incorrectly. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, just come up here and get on deck. All right.
My name is Faye Snodgrass. I live at 605 Morningside Drive. Good evening, members of Town Council. I'm grateful to Mayor Stair for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the uniquely Zionsville Comprehensive Plan. It's very impressive that there were 9,000 community responses and over 450 online survey submissions. Given the deep community involvement, including the hours of my own time, I'm here tonight to ask that you honor it. The plan's own vision statement, validated by residents through every phase of the process, could not be clearer. It calls for, quote, scenic open spaces, fiscally responsible development, and continued reinvestment in our established district. The plan further states that, quote, growth should not be accepted simply because there is demand, and, quote, every new neighborhood, business, and street should add to Zionsville quality and character. New investments must make the town better and not just bigger. That's not my language. That's the plan's language, which is to say it's community language. On the question of open spaces, the plan explicitly directs the town to amend zoning and subdivision ordinances to increase minimum required open space percentages and ensure that open space is meaningful and connected. The proposed 30% open space requirement for new developments is the direct implementation of that directive. It's not an obstacle to growth. It's the standard the community demanded and this plan enshrined. Weakening or removing that requirement does not reflect a policy difference. It contradicts the documented will of Zionsville residents as recorded in this plan. Workshop after workshop, survey response after survey response, and the message was the same. Preserve the rural atmosphere, protect farmland, and protect open space. The plan says so explicitly, quote, protecting Zionsville character is the near universal priority among residents, end quote. A comprehensive plan that cost almost $500,000 and 18 months of staff and resident engagement and time is not a suggestion. It's a mandate, a social contract between this council and the people you represent. The plan's implementation chapter is explicit. Its goals must be translated into zoning ordinances, subdivision regulations, and development standards. Council members making unilateral changes that reduce open space protections are not exercising leadership. They're substituting their preferences for the communities. My ask tonight is simple. Hold the 30% open space standard. Follow the plan. Let the residents of Zionsville see that their voices, their time, and the community's investment in a shared future actually meant something. Thank you.
Thanks, Faye.
Thank you. All right, up next, I should have said something about that before. If you would please keep the applause down, it slows down the whole process here. So up next is Garrett, and we'll have Ted Stowe, if you wouldn't mind coming up, Ted, and you'll be next.
Garrett Weholder, 2400 South US 421. I know we don't want to repeat ourselves a lot, so kind of a ditto on Josh's and a ditto on the previous speaker. The only thing that I would add at the end is if, as a group, we can continue to recommend that any development timing aligns responsible with road infrastructure readiness along 300 South, 200 South, and 421, ensuring growth does not outpace capacity. And this is Zionsville leadership that makes Zionsville unique. So we can make the call. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett. All right, Ted, you're up next, and then we've got David, is it Hoff, maybe? Am I saying that right? Haug? Yeah, there we go.
My name is Ted Stowe, 10316 Fox Trace. I'm from Fox Run. We have roughly half a unit per acre in our neighborhood, and that low density is part of what makes this area truly rural. We back up to Eagle Creek with no sidewalks in our neighborhood, and we share our land with foxes, coyotes, bullfrogs, barred owls, and wild turkeys. I'm asking that the small pie-shaped area along Michigan Road be designated rural and estate equestrian. It's surrounded by country wood, our friends who live off 421 and Fox Run. This whole area lies in the rural district and is currently zoned ag. Development timing here must also align with road infrastructure readiness along 300, 200 South, and 421, so growth does not outpace capacity. There are no traffic fixes in the pipeline from INDOT from this stretch of 421. Fox Run has a walkability score of 0 out of 100. We are on septic. Many neighbors around Fox Run have horses and chickens, and as our rural area, we do not receive the same services as the rest of the town. The airport study already maintains that this area should be limited in development. Any change to the comprehensive plan should honor that guidance and designate this corridor as rural and estate equestrian, preserving our rural character and habitat instead of treating it like an urbanized suburb. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. And then David. Hey, gang, I get it, and I know this, we're passionate about this, but if you could just please keep it down. David, you're up next. Sherry, you're up after David. Sherry Leffler.
David Howe, 2450 South US 421. Ditto to everything that everybody has said. They've kind of hit what I was planning on saying. I will say one thing, as a small business owner in town, we hear a lot of people come in that are new to town talk about how unique Zionsville is and why they moved here. A lot of this change is going to change that. I've talked to people about how they vote, how they do things, how they think about things, and many times you get eyes opened as to why we get the responses we get. I had planned on speaking on a couple of other topics, but they've already hit on them, so I won't hit them again. But changing town the way we're seeing a lot of this change, a lot of the growth that we're seeing, I'm all for growth. I mean, I'm a small business owner. I want more people, of course. But the growth without taking into account how things are happening, especially on 421. I look out my rearview mirror every time I pull into my driveway. When I've got my horse trailer hooked up, it scares the crap out of me. I listened to a fire truck roll down the road asking a driver to pull over the other day. My daughter was dumbfounded. We were coming back from a meeting, a couple of us that live right there, horn blaring at us because we were turning right into our driveways. There's a lot of growth. Zionsville is unique. Keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, David. David. Sherry Leffler, and then Michelle. Is it Michelle Gross-Stark?
Sherry Leffler, 1850 South, 1200 East. I'm going to speak in regard to the purple area on the Boone-Hamilton line, which is the Office and Innovation area. We are asking as neighbors for that line to be shifted up to 166th Street, which would line up with the Westfield Comprehensive Plan. And it would also, this type of development, we feel like is going to impact our property values and the quality of life with the removal of natural habitat and the increased traffic, noise, and light pollution. And I'd like to refer to the Boone County Area Commission, which recently has proposed something with the development of solar farms and being 1,000 feet from the nearest property that's not involved with that development. And I feel like with the residents along there, we're asking for the same consideration, that development would be 1,000 feet from the closest resident from that area. Thank you very much. And I ditto to everything that's been said previously.
Thank you, Sherry. Thank you, Sherry. Up next is Michelle, and then we've got Teresa Borman.
Good evening. Sorry, I planned to show a presentation because the picture has 1,000 words, but I'll explain it. So hopefully I can do it in 3 minutes. My name is Michelle Gross-Stark. I live at 11920 East 200 South. I've lived there for over 20 years on 15 acres. We originally started with horses, and now we have a hay business. The area I would like to see modified on the comprehensive plan is similar to what Sherry addressed. It is the Office and Innovation area that starts on 1200 and comes down to where our rural community begins. I ask that this be changed for several aspects. One, on this, this area is already developed as rural and estate residential. The rural character is a lifestyle for the residents already in the area, and it's a lifestyle that we highly desire within Zionsville. You've talked about it. I have attended every meeting. I have highlighted this change in every meeting. I'm not sure why it wasn't a blip on your map the other day, but it has been talked about in every meeting because myself and my husband and my neighbors have been at those meetings. As I listened to your last two meetings, it is unclear if you decided to change it or not change it. There was this battle of east and west, this battle of urbanization and rural. And I ask that you go back and you change that away from Office and Innovation at the line of 166. And as it was mentioned in your last meeting, that's because it better aligns with what Westfield has already developed in their comprehensive plan. And that plan, I have dated the chart, dated March 23rd of 2026. They have drawn that line at 166. I asked that we draw that line. They actually took Office and Innovation further north on 32, and that appears to be what should be proper in the area because that's where the larger parcels of land are available. Westfield also, I applaud them. They state in their plan that this area would be a state rural and equestrian. Verbatim from their plan, they say this area is largely developed. It is rural character is viewed as a long-term condition. It is not intended to convert to other types of uses. Specifically, this area provides not just rural character that is valued by the community, it provides an area where residents can live a rural lifestyle and a plan that this plan embraces the importance of the rural lifestyle opportunity. When you look at our stretch of land, and I had a chart for that, I'm sorry I can't show you. If you look from 166 down to our road, East 200 South, there is no parcel smaller than 2 acres, and there's only 2 of those. The majority of the parcels that have homes, a barn, and some livestock or agriculture is on average 13 acres or higher. You can feed a family of 4 with everything you need from this one block of town in Zionsville. This is rural. It has been rural. Our prior comprehensive plan says it should be rural. Westfield's plan says it should be rural, and we appreciate that you respect our rural lifestyle.
Thank you, Michelle. Up next is Teresa, and this will be the last one for the comprehensive plan. Sorry about that. Can't
And I'll
figure out
keep-
my phone.
I'll keep this brief. My name is Terry Borman. I live at 2714 South, 1200 East. Very similar to Michelle, I have 15 acres. I've lived there for 30 years. I had horses. I now have hay also. Like she stated, everything is rural in that area. I am requesting that we keep it rural, and like everyone has said, and I'm just going to say ditto to everything that's been said earlier.
Thank you. All right, so we will move on to the request to speak on the Pulte petition. I have 4 requests to speak there. In order, we've got Matt. Matt. Don't worry about it. There we go. All right. Yeah, I would not have gotten that one. All right. So Matt, and then we'll have Sue Engel down next, Brian Baker after that, and Kyle Schmidt. That's all right.
Matt Cornicione, 8607 East 300 South. I'm here tonight on behalf of my family and approximately 18 neighboring families who are directly impacted by this rezoning request, and we are strongly opposed to it. I emailed each of you on the council on April 30th a detailed overview of our items we believe disqualify this project from meeting the requirements for a rezone. At its core, this request comes down to compatibility with Zionsville's plans, with the surrounding area, and what makes Zionsville unique. First, this proposal is not consistent with the comprehensive plan that governed this land when it was annexed in 2010. At that time, residents were assured that the Boone County Comp Plan would remain in place, which calls for low-density housing of less than 1 home per acre. What's being proposed tonight by Pulte is roughly 1.5 homes per acre, or a 50% increase in density that does not align with those commitments or with the expectations that residents relied upon when they chose to be annexed. Equally concerning is a similar property located approximately 1 mile north that has been evaluated under the Boone County Comp Plan in the March Planning Commission meeting. This proposal is assessed under the Zionsville Comp Plan. That's an inconsistency that raises important questions about fairness and the process. Secondly, this development does not maintain the character of the surrounding areas. The homes in our area are custom built, typically situated on 3 or more acres, have mature trees, and are constructed of high-quality materials like brick and stone. In contrast, this proposal introduces more than 209 production-style homes with limited architectural diversity and materials that do not reflect the existing neighborhood. Not to mention, the average lot size is less than 0.25 acres. Third, we have serious concerns about the impact on our property values. The surrounding homes range in price from $1 million to $3 million and up. Introducing a large volume of homes in the $500,000 to $600,000 range risks lowering comps and will negatively impact the long-term investment the existing homeowners have. These are the technical concerns, but really there's something larger to discuss. We brand ourselves in Zionsville as uniquely Zionsville, a place that balances thoughtful growth with preservation of its rural character. There is nothing unique about this proposal. It's a standard, high-density production neighborhood that could exist anywhere. If this project moves forward, if it does not move forward, Pulte's going to be fine. They'll have $17 billion in revenue and $2.5 to $3 billion in income next year like they have the last several years. But if it does go through, the impact on this community will be devastating, long-lasting, and irreversible. For these reasons and many more, we respectfully ask that you deny this rezoning request. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Sue?
Hi, I'm Sue Engeldow. I live at 3402 South, 875 East in Zionsville. I've lived in my current home, which was one of the original farmhouses in the area, for approximately 26 years. Before purchasing my property, I carefully checked the zoning. It was R1, and when we were annexed into Zionsville, we were assured that zoning would remain. The rezone to R2 is not what any of the surrounding homeowners or neighbors want, just the developer. Although I do appreciate the efforts Pulte has made in regards to increased landscaping and buffering, they did not address our concerns regarding quality of homes or density, which Matt has spoken to. There's nothing close to the proposed density in the area. The smallest lot size in Allen Acres, which would be across from them, is 0.4 acres, with most being 0.67 acre lots. Other areas directly surrounding the proposed development range from 2.25 acres to well over 20 acres. In the developer's plan, there will be 13 homes in the entrance off of 875. On the south side of the proposed entry road, there will be 7 homes with lot sizes of approximately 1/4 of an acre, abutting a 3.5 acre property. On the north side of the entry, there will be 6 homes with lot sizes of 0.273 acres, abutting a 3 acre property. In another section, there would be 6 homes with 0.22 acre lots, abutting a 6.35 acre property. Obviously, the proposed densities are way out of line with existing properties. This proposed development does not meet the criteria of decreasing density, moving out from the town, nor preserving the rural character of the area. Driving to my home from any direction, I love the open, peaceful, rural feel of the area. The homes are eclectic and unique and surrounded by sizable properties. The Pulte homes are neither. There is a place for Pulte production homes. This is just not it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Up next, Brian.
Good evening. My name is Brian Baker. I reside at 3230 South 800 East in Zionsville. I'm addressing you, specifically Councilman Pluckett, to voice my opposition to the proposed Pulte Bradbury project. Its western border is directly east of my property. And although the project appears to meet most current Zionsville Comprehensive Plan and was approved by the Plan Commission, it is in conflict with the recent denial of a project in the same general area as Matt had spoke about previously. We do not live in a neighborhood, but rather a rural service district. This area of Zionsville, south of 300 and bordered to the west by 800 South, is rural with at least 4 substantial agricultural properties from 300 South to 400 South. And as property owners in the town of Zionsville, my neighbors and I want to preserve the rural character of our town's surroundings, the area that we choose to live in and love. Most all properties in the surrounding area are on parcels of 2 acres or more. That's all out on a vote right now, but 2 acres or more and valued at $1 to $3 million. The proposed subdivision density is not compatible with the natural landscape and topography, a requirement of the comprehensive plan. Furthermore, the quality of homes will adversely affect our property values, pitting small lots with cookie-cutter homes and street-facing brick and stone facades to surrounding properties with much larger parcels and custom-built homes. The proposed site is bordered with woodland areas to the south and northwest, and with woodlands within the site boundaries. The site woodlands will be demolished in the name of growth and development. These areas are a natural habitat for birds and species, bird species, owl, fox, deer, etc., just to name a few. And development will permanently displace wildlife and forever change the character of our surroundings. This development does not maintain our small town feel and quality of life. We are stakeholders in our community, one of the most desirable communities in the Midwest because of our limited and managed growth. This development is an intrusion and a threat to our town's character and our way of life. Zionsville, for all the right reasons, if passed, this will define our future path. Develop and build. Once a field or woodland area is destroyed, it's forever gone. I ask that you please vote no to this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, Kyle Schmidt.
My name is Kyle Schmidt. I live at 8370 East 300 South. I'm speaking in opposition to this proposal to rezone from R1 to R2. Pulte can show you numbers and money because to them, that is all that this is. But numbers and money do not make up Zionsville. It's the charm, it's the beauty, and it's the people that live here. We have the opportunity to shape the future of our community. This is our home. We moved into our home out in the country with a growing family to enjoy the rural nature of Zionsville, to let our kids grow up in the open spaces, to see and experience wildlife right outside of our window, to raise wild livestock, to see the stars and bask in the peace of the country. Every generation wants to better the lives of their children and grandchildren, and this was our hope and dream for our 3 children. The hope of rural character and space in the country is what brought our family and the families of many of our neighbors to our homes, and it still brings many to Zionsville. It's what makes us unique. The plan put forth by Pulte is not consistent with the rural character that you find between 875 East and 800 East on 300 South. It brings dense production housing, less than a quarter of an acre lots, light and noise pollution, traffic, and it disrupts the natural wildlife, both local and migratory. Protecting Zionsville's rural character is and continues to be the mandate of the residents of Zionsville. Therefore, I respectfully request that you deny the request to rezone.
Thank you, Kyle. All right, so we will move on to the next items, which is the Woodland Grove PUD. And we've got quite a few of these as well. We'll start with Chris Henry, and then Anna Shapaw and Ted Stowe. They're going to be our first 3 here. So,
Good evening, Chris Henry, 33-year resident at 2316 South US Highway 421 here in Zionsville, here to speak regarding the Woodland Grove. I'm going to go quickly. So, gentlemen, we're back together again talking about a new project on the same piece of property. Let's talk about what's changed and what hasn't changed. What hasn't changed is that this town council is made up of mostly the same group of individuals who voted down a similar proposal 6-1 a year ago. How is this project better? What hasn't changed is that Bradley Ridge Union Woodlands have still not begun to build. 200 South is still incredibly dangerous. 3 town council members that I know have spent a lot of time running through that intersection. There are still no plans by the state of Indiana to improve and expand Michigan Road. There are still no turn lanes at 200 South, no A-cell or D-cell lanes, no passing blisters, and no plans to add them. What has changed? This council has approved an additional 500 homes at Maple Lane to be built at the 200 South intersection. Pittman Partners has shrunk the size of the previous project to a little over 50 acres. Pittman Partners has raised the planned height of their buildings versus the previously denied project. Pittman Partners has dramatically increased the density from the previously denied project. This project continues to sit within a portion of the current comprehensive plan that highly discourages residential construction. I find it ironic that in about an hour, or at the next meeting, you're going to approve a new comprehensive plan. Yet Mr. Pittman is asking you to ignore the current comprehensive plan that discourages residential construction within proximity to a busy airport. I trust we did not invest $500,000, as was identified earlier, creating a comprehensive plan that future councils may choose to ignore. You should not ignore the current plan. I cannot imagine what would excite you about this project versus the last one you denied. But regarding the quality of the project, we need more projects like Bradley Ridge, Maple Lane, Wild Air, and the Farm. Well-thought-out projects that contribute to the fabric of Zionsville. Between these 52 acres and the adjacent property that Steve recently bought, he can do better. He builds quality projects when he has the time and space. The Farm is a great project. The Farm is a great project in the right location. This is neither. Those who would say the real estate market needs a product like this simply needs to check Zillow. 75% of the two-story townhomes at Appaloosa Crossing have reduced their prices in the last 30 days to generate interest. People are not excited about the townhome product. Your roles as town council members are to help Zionsville grow responsibly. Adding this project to the nearly 1,000 homes yet to be constructed is reckless. Give us time to absorb the other projects and advocate with the state of Indiana to improve this corridor before someone dies at 200 South. If that takes a couple of years, so be it. We got 1,000 homes to build. Protect this community from rampant, unnecessary development. This is the wrong project at the wrong place. It's simply too much, too fast. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Chris. Up next, we have Anna Shapaw.
Hi, guys. Good evening. Anna Shapaw, 11779 East 200 South. I did give you a handout. I was going to have slides, but those weren't allowed, so hopefully we can follow along, and I'll try to be quick. First of all, I want to say I don't envy the position you guys are in. You're sitting in a room full of people who clearly don't want development. At the same time, you're trying to come up with tax dollars and create assessed value to come up with the money we lost from SB1. And I want to start by acknowledging that and saying I get it. But I also want to set the stage for what we as neighbors have gone through over the last year and a half and how far we've come. We've worked with the comprehensive planning team to support growth around the airport, to support the activity center, to support the Michigan Road overlay, and to even say we support commercial development on 421 and conventional subdivisions around there. So we're not just saying we want this to be soybean and cornfields forever because we realize that that's not reasonable. You're going to hear from neighbors tonight that encompass 421, 200 South, Save Rural Zionsville, the airport, Countrywood, and Fox Run. But I'm not asking you to listen to us. I'm actually asking you to listen to the Indiana State Code 36-7-4-502. I don't need to read that to you guys. I know you know it. So I want to start by setting the stage. As you cross 300 North and pull up to this piece of land, you are entering rural Zionsville. We are going to set the precedent for what will become the first set of townhomes in rural Zionsville, as well as the first set of commercial development in rural Zionsville. We're looking at a 2-lane highway with no plans for expansion, a rural service district with no utilities, and a comprehensive plan that clearly states that this type of development does not fit. We're also looking at a road that's going to have at least another 4,000 cars coming on it from the 1,700 homes that are approved and coming online. So what I want to quickly point out is how I do not believe that this development supports the 5 pieces of criteria from the Indiana Code. 1, 3 of you voted for the airport study in 2022 that said that this is strongly discouraging development. It calls for low density and 1-story, not townhouses. The staff report, I believe, considered both the new comprehensive plan as well as the old one, and I would like to call out that I believe that's incorrect, as I heard many of you state in the meeting Wednesday that you would be voting based off the old comprehensive plan. Secondly, as you look at these pictures of the current conditions and characteristics, you're going to see horses, large estate farms, soybean, corn. So you don't see any townhouses. As you look at the most desirable use for which the land is adapted, What you see is farmland and open spaces. We support commercial on the Michigan Road overlay, but we don't support turning ag land into townhouses. We're asking you to follow the 2022 comprehensive plan. Finally, the fourth piece of criteria, we do believe, and I have stated on here with the home sales that have gone through in this area, that this will decrease the value. And then finally,
thank you,
these are
Anna.
332 signatures that represent the
Thank you,
direct
Anna.
neighborhood
Thank
around
you,
this.
Anna.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
All right, up next is Ted Stowe, and then after Ted, we have Josh again, it looks like, and David again.
We can't do that, can we?
All right. I don't know if he's in here or not. I don't know.
My name is Ted Stowe. I live at 10316 Fox Trace and serve as HOA VP for Fox Run, a 42-home neighborhood almost directly across from this proposal. Thank you, council members, for your stewardship. To those in the meeting room, hallways, and online, your presence is felt. My wife drove 30 years accident-free until she was hit turning into Michigan Road into Fox Run with my son in the car. A slight difference in angle, and the outcome could have been far worse. We all know this corridor has become a gauntlet. We hear the sirens from 200 South, the rollovers at Appaloosa. We sit through endless light cycles at 300. We watch drivers take risks exiting neighborhoods like Holiday Farms and the lane chaos at Michigan and Willow. More growth is accelerating it. Bradley Ridge, Union Woodlands, Maple Lane, more at Holiday Farms, senior living, townhomes, commercial expansion. Now they want to jam in 120 townhomes, 53 single-family homes, and 50,000 square feet of commercial space, nearly a football field, right in the middle of this stretch, adding more traffic, especially senior citizens leaving nearby facilities into a mid-block stretch of Michigan Road where semis are common and speeds often hit 70 miles per hour will inevitably increase serious accidents and fatalities. Zionsville has long been intentional about growth. We have preserved green space, expanded trails, and prioritized quality of life. That didn't happen by accident. Developers should lead with their best plans, not plunk down monoliths of flat farmland and call last-second changes real concessions. This proposal is 7 times denser than Fox Run, with some areas reaching 14 times our density. At a recent meeting, the petitioner's attorney said, quote, 3-story townhomes would be a nice visual buffer to perhaps hide or stand in front of some of the density behind them, end quote. A buffer that depends on concealment is not a solution. It is an admission. You may place density behind a facade, but you cannot hide it from the consequences it brings. He went on to offer, and I quote, some common areas people walk out in their front yard, maybe throw a football, throw a frisbee, etc., end quote. How have we gone from a spacious subdivision to just enough room for a frisbee toss? Are we still the place described as a park within a town? Is our town in decline? If we rezone the most fertile soil on the planet for a PUD, let it be reverent, worthy. Why cast single-family homes in the shadows of 45-foot leviathans that steal the sunset? As fields disappear, we risk losing what makes Zionsville special. The trees, the quiet, the rural charm. Beauty comes not from how much we build, but how judiciously we grow. This is our town, our legacy, our home. Let's protect it. Thank you.
I thank you, Ted. So we had, obviously, as you guys noticed, a little bit of confusion there. We don't typically allow multiple people to come up and talk on different items, but obviously somewhat of a hot-ticket item tonight, so we're going to allow it this evening. So again, Josh is next. David, you're after that, and then Garrett, you'll be after that.
Thank you once again. Josh DeVelvis, 2470 South US 421. The property is, in fact, directly across 421 from the Woodland Grove proposal. I did, thanks to the team for helping print out a few slides. You should find these in your packet. It's titled Oppose Woodland Grove PUD. Much of what has been said, I'll go with a straight ditto, full support for what you've heard from my neighbors. It's very well said. I do want to emphasize just a couple specific conflicts that I see between this proposal and the current land use, and I'll be referencing specifically the 2022 airport study. So on slide 1, we start with the Discovery Commons townhomes area. It sits in an area that's defined as mixed-use campus housing in the current plan, and specifically states the district will largely consist of one-story attached housing. Clearly, a 2 or a 3-story block of townhomes is not a good fit based on that description. It also calls for abundance of open space, and in the townhome section, that appears to be lacking as well. Move to the next slide. Overland Commons will move to the east a bit, move into the single-family section. That also puts us into an area that's defined as Tier 2 in that plan, and Tier 2, the definition is quite clear: strongly discourage new residential development. Moving to slide 3, we can focus on the tree preservation area. Of course, full support for tree and preservation area and green space, but the plan specifically calls for a blend of uses and calls out economic opportunity through agritourism businesses. The current proposal doesn't highlight any business opportunities. Woods or a park or a path is not likely to meet that standard. The next couple slides have been well covered by my neighbors. I'll skip those and leave you just with the last one. It's if you've driven up or down 421 recently, you see some signage there. There's quite complete support in the area for opposition to this PUD. Please oppose. Thank you.
Thank you. David?
Good evening. Again, David Haug, 2450 South US 421. Had I realized you only want us to speak on one, I would have spoke on this one, as I live right across the street, as Josh does, from this. I bought my property recently. We moved in January 1. Had I known this was going to be the battle I was in for, I probably would have moved further out, which is sad. But good evening. We talk about property development. We often focus on what's new, what the next project will be, what the new opportunity is, what the next skyline is going to look like. It's unfortunate that we're talking about skylines in rural Zionsville. I enjoy looking out my window at the sunrise in the morning and my horses. Precedent gives us unique perspective. Every neighborhood, every zoning decision, every infrastructure investment tells us a story. Past developments reveal what worked, what failed. I think we could look at some of the things down the street and wish we had done something different. I don't know whether you as councilmen feel that way or not, but I do. I like what you've continued to do with in town or the village. Ironically, I don't want to live in the village, but I do like living in Zionsville. I'm thrilled for the people that live in the village because they enjoy it. They like it the way it is. That perspective gives us reason to doubt, forgive me, what Mr. Pittman will actually do with this property, in my opinion. We talk about buffers. We talk about the townhomes that they're proposing to build. It seems that things just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. There's precedent down the street where Holiday Farms doesn't have these buffers. Stonegate doesn't have these buffers. Maple Grove doesn't have these buffers. All of a sudden, we have to have this buffer in between what they're wanting to put up front and what they want to put in back. At the same time, future definitely demands flexibility. We understand that this property is going to get developed. As cities, we grow and demand. We evolve. Most successful developments will bring balance, respect, precedent. It's not about the buildings. It's not about building as fast as possible. It's about building responsibly. It's about building, things that keep the community what it is. In closing, small property development is not just about vision, it's about discipline. We hope that the board will have this discipline in making these decisions moving forward and what will happen to the rural area in going forward. I respectfully ask you to deny this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Garrett? Garrett, Jim Nyrider, Sherry Leffler, Teresa Borman.
Garrett Weholder, 2400 South US 421. First of all, I want to thank the council. I think not every one of you, but I have spent hours talking to a few of you, and I really appreciate the time and sitting down and having face-to-face conversations and over-the-phone conversations with most of you, so thank you for that. I want to touch on what Anna said. Just that last part might have been cut off. We have over 330 names on a petition, one petition, and there was a second petition that was turned in during the Planning Commission that you guys should have a copy of that are handwritten petitions. So there was 2 separate petitions, so hopefully you have those with you. Ditto on Chris, Anna, Ted, Josh, David. We were all neighbors before all this, and we're going to be neighbors after, but we've built pretty good friendships because of all this, so it's kind of brought us all together. You think about country neighbors, we're actually more than country neighbors, where it's like being in a neighborhood, even though somebody could be a couple miles away. The other, I guess, the last part, referencing a article in the Indianapolis Star, January 17th of 2025. It was City Councilor Jeff Worrell, at-large City Council member. His comment, he now regrets his previous votes in favor of townhouse developments in certain areas of Carmel. And the quote, "I don't think I understood the aesthetics, the feel of the neighborhood, and how it differs when you have townhouses versus detached single-family homes." So I'm asking the council to oppose and deny this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next is Jim.
Jim Nyrider, 1101 Indian Pipe Lane, the Vice President of Countrywood. Ditto to everybody that's come up here and speak before me, all the neighbors. We just ask for you guys to keep Zionsville unique the way it is. We know that something is going to get developed there. As they said before, let's let it catch up. The traffic is already horrendous between 200 and 300. There's already so many accidents that happen there. The emergency vehicles, I'm sure they're getting delayed more and more by the amount of traffic. I know that's not you guys, I know that's NDOT, but at some point, it should be our due diligence to let that catch up. So let's not put more and more danger out there. Zionsville, I came from Lebanon, especially everything that's going on in Lebanon. It's blowing up, and it's people are living on top of everybody. I especially came to Zionsville because to get away from that. It was such a sought-after place, one of the top-ranked places to live in the nation, safest places to live. And I just think it's important for us to keep that in our minds, too. Keep Zionsville unique. We don't have to rush into anything. We know that's going to get developed, but we can develop it into something, something amazing for Zionsville. So don't want to take any more of your time. I agree with what all my neighbors said, and it's brought us closer together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. All right, Sherry. We've got Sherry, Teresa Borman, Ken Stark, and then Michelle Gross Stark.
Sherry Leffler, 1850 South, 1200 East. I would like to express my concerns regarding the proposed development. Having grown up and graduated from this community, I chose to return in 2008 to raise my children in this community. There was hesitation on my part at that time because I was afraid Zionsville wouldn't be the same small community that I had grown up in. I quickly realized while growth was significant, there was still that same sense of pride in our community. New neighborhoods have been created with a sense of community within the communities. In 2015, my husband and I built our home in a rural area because we wanted to provide our family with the same experiences we had grown up with, animals, exploring, and a connection to the land. Throughout the years, we have shared our property with friends, family, and youth groups. Rural lifestyle is a novelty for those of you that don't live in nearby neighborhoods, or those of you that live in nearby neighborhoods and towns. This lifestyle is impacted with each new development in significant ways. As Zionsville has grown, recent developments like Promontory, Bradley Ridge, and Maple Lane have been approved in rural areas. These developments have worked hard with neighbors to blend into and maintain rural features supporting our unique community. Lower density, large green spaces, and the feel, again, of a community within a community. In contrast, the current proposal has significant density with limited gathering and green space when compared to the proposed density. Woodland Grove has also been offered as a connector for Union Woodlands, another newly densely populated neighborhood. They want to use this as a route to 421. As a parent, I don't think anyone with children would love the idea of adding another neighborhood's traffic flow to go through their neighborhood. Furthermore, I'm deeply concerned about the destruction of natural habitats. The removal, or I should say the absolute demolition of the trees for Union Woodlands has already displaced local wildlife. We've seen a significant increase in displaced animals on our property as our habitats have been destroyed. Even with new plantings, it will take years to restore the local ecosystem. This project serves to provide a zip code to residents rather than a neighborhood with a sense of community. Our family, friends, and neighbors ask you to deny this project as currently proposed. We believe developers should offer true communities that reflect what makes Zionsville unique. And I agree with all my neighbors also. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. All right, up next is Teresa.
My name is Terry Borman. I have lived at 2714 South, 1200 East for over 30 years. While others have talked about other concerns with the proposed Woodland Grove PUD, which I concur with, I'm here to discuss my concerns with the sewer infrastructure for the development. This development is located in the Trico Utilities District. Trico services the area east of US 421 and south of 200 South. Hamilton Southeastern Utilities service the area north of 200 South and west of US 421 and is providing sewer services to the approved Bradley Ridge and Maple Lane developments. In order for sewer service to be provided to this proposed PUD, Trico plans on pursuing eminent domain against my property and my neighbors' properties to install a 12-inch main sewer line. Their proposed route is 30 to 40 feet wide, and it's approximately 700 feet long across my property, 700 feet long across Mr. Henney's property, and 1,100 feet long across Mr. Thompson's property. This will essentially cause me to lose half of the mature woods on my property. The woods are a buffer to the subdivision that used to be farmland to the west of me and provides privacy and both light and noise buffers. Mr. Thompson's backyard and pool are very close to the proposed installation. He will be highly impacted by this route, and especially during construction. Mr. Henney's property will be bisected and will make building his dream home challenging and will be destroying most of the 50 to 100-year-old sycamore trees on his property. There are several other routes and options available. The sewer could be installed along road frontages such as US 421 or 1200 East. In fact, HSE is installing sewer lines along the road frontage of 200 South to service the Bradley Ridge and Maple Lane developments. It does not go through private property. They will also be boring instead of trenching as planned by Trico, which is much less destructive and invasive. Another alternative is to utilize the existing lift station in the Union Woodlands development. It was stated previously that this has the capacity to handle additional dwellings and at one time was slated to handle the Bradley Ridge development. HSE has also been in contact with me and my neighbor and stated that a pipe that size can only be intended to provide sanitary sewer service to areas within their certificate of territorial authority. HSE is of the opinion that Trico is intending to seek to have their CTA revoked and for Trico to become the provider. HSE stated unequivocally that does not need to happen as HSE has a wholesale agreement with Citizens that will handle all of the flows east of US 421 and north of 200 South and have acquired easements to connect to the Citizens plant. HSE repeatedly stated that the installation of a 12-inch sewer main through our properties is unnecessary. As an additional alternative, HSE stated that they would be willing and able to service this proposed PUD if Trico reached out to them. If this development goes forward, which I hope it does not due to all of the concerns discussed by other individuals, I respectfully request that the Town Council and the Town of Zionsville work with Trico and Pittman Partners to encourage them to be good neighbors and that they use routes and options that do not go through private individuals' property to install main sewer lines for any development in this area. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Terry. Up next, Ken Stark. We've got Tim, Michelle, Dave, Brian Traylor.
Good evening, councilors. You've heard many of my, first off, I'm Ken Stark. I live at 11920 East 200 South. Have lived there for 20 years. I'm a believer in hard data. You've heard many of my neighbors talk about traffic and safety concerns. And if you'll turn to the handout I sent in to each of you, slide 3, I got a data set from the Indiana State Police for 2016 to 2026 for all accidents occurring in Zionsville, as reported by Zionsville Police Department, Westville Police Department, Boone County Sheriff, and Indiana State Police. Over that 10-year period, there were 3,143 accidents in Zionsville and 6 accident fatalities. But the area that I am most concerned about is on slide 4, and that is the 421 corridor. That accounted for 1,197 accidents, or 38% of all accidents, 240 injuries, or 53% of all injuries, and 4 fatalities. That's 66% of all the vehicular fatalities in Zionsville happened in the 421 corridor. If you'll go to slide 5, it's not getting any better. The rate of traffic accidents along 421 is growing. From 2016 to 2015, there's been a 170% increase in the number of accidents. Just think about that for a second, 170% increase. And for accidents actually happening on US 421, it was a 90% increase. Now, if you'll go to slide 6, you'll reference on the side there, you wonder where those 4 fatalities were. They happened at County Road 100 North and 421, County Road 200 South and 421, County Road 300 South and 421, and Willow Road and 421. Now, you also see on your slide there all the blue shapes. Those represent all the developments that have already been approved along that corridor. That will put an estimated 4,000 more vehicles on that roadway. And that does not count any commercial vehicle traffic. There are 25 commercial districts approved in these PUDs. So you're going to be getting a lot more traffic there. So if you think traffic and safety is bad now, just wait, it's going to get worse. People have often deferred concerned citizens to the 421 project. The 421 project only takes development and improvement up to 300 South. There is no plan, there is no funding, and there is no commitment for improvements on that corridor at any point in time. You wouldn't build a development without the required sewer and electrical infrastructure. Why should road infrastructure follow so far behind as an afterthought? The next slide shows lots of towns across the country that have put moratoriums on develop to let their infrastructure catch up. I would ask that we do the same and pause and wait and see what the impact's going to be for all the developments we've already approved but have not built out, what they have on our community and our infrastructure. So I would respectfully ask that you deny the Woodland PUD Grove. It doesn't fit, and it's going to cause increased traffic and safety concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. Michelle?
That's my better half. Okay, Michelle Gross-Stark. You've heard I'm at 11920 East 200 South. I'm going to talk real fast for 3 minutes, so stay with me. I'm here to speak in opposition of Woodland Grove project by Pittman Partners due to its negative impact on our rural lifestyle. Researching all letters and speakers in support of this project and the prior project proposed by Pittman Partners on the same parcel revealed an interesting trend. Overwhelming majority of this group supporting this project reside outside of Zionsville, actively develop high-density projects similar to this proposal, and/or own large parcels of lands in Zionsville to which they do not currently reside. Let's be clear, this is not a story of farmers needing to sell land due to lack of profitability. It is an example of risky financial investments for potential future profit. We ask that you continue to support the rural community that lives and thrives here today and not the investor trying to maximize profits. As you hear and review the magnitude and passion in opposition of this project, I hope you realize that our community needs rural and agricultural areas protected, because once you lose it, it's the hardest, if not impossible, to get back. Our community will become stronger once it realizes how to balance urbanization growth and rural agricultural protection. Ag and ag tourism is a profitable business. It is successful in this area with multiple examples like Hunter's Wonder Tree Farm, Watch's Farm, Stuckey's, Albert's, Willie's Wagyu, and Dandy Breeze, just to name a few. There are many more. Maintaining a rural and agricultural lifestyle within Zionsville is absolutely critical for future generations. It is rich with valuable lessons in leadership, problem solving, fiscal responsibility, and teamwork. Just look at the success that has been achieved with programs such as 4-H and FFA. Our area is ripe with hobby farms and working farms. Within a 2-mile radius of this proposed development, you can find any imaginable farm animal. We have turkeys, goats, ducks, honeys, pumpkins. This is a gem, and not just the direct residents that cherish the area. It's a gem of an area, and it's often a topic of discussion with Zionsville Moms forums. A sampling which I provided to you for your reference. If you look closely, you may find council members also commenting on enjoying this beautiful rural area. In summary, we're not against any and all developments. We have actually supported other developer projects that were less dense, higher quality, and blended within our rural community due to the support of agricultural education and reasonably sized and highly restricted commercial footprints in use. Woodland Grove should be denied due to its negative impact on property values. It's not a good fit with the rural and cultural lifestyle that currently exists here today, and it's a safety concern with the airport and vehicular traffic. Made it.
Thank you. All right. Up next is Dave Richter, and then we've got Brian Traylor, Lisa Cloghorn, Greg Holbrook, and then a couple more, one that's a little bit more difficult to read, so.
All right, thank you. Good evening. My name is Dave Richter, and I represent the Hamilton County Airport Authority, which oversees the operations of the Indianapolis Executive Airport. Also here tonight representing the Hamilton County Airport Authority is Dr. Kent Erb, Mr. Justin Clevenger, and Mr. Phil Beer. Thanks for coming, guys. Our purpose for being here this evening is to voice our opposition to a portion of the Woodland Grove development. Please note that we don't oppose the whole thing. We just oppose the Overland Commons subdistrict. Excuse me. The Indianapolis Executive Airport is a vital part of the health and commerce of Zionsville, Boone County, and Hamilton County. These next points of interest will help show our concern and, frankly, our natural opposition to this development. The airport's been operating here for 65 years. It is the 6th busiest non-tower general aviation business traffic in the United States. It is the 2nd busiest airport in Indiana for business flights. We have over 40,000 flight operations every year. We have 10,000 jet operations every year. There are 35 jet airplanes and 81 propeller airplanes permanently hangared at our airport, and we're building even more hangars now trying to keep up with the demand. Last year, we had 171 international flight operations. We're currently in the process of adding a U.S. Customs office to the airport, which we expect will significantly increase the international operations. Last year, we completed a project that extended our runway to over 7,000 feet. All this to say is the airport's really busy right now, and it's expected to experience increased busyness and growth in the foreseeable future. To be clear, the Hamilton County Airport Authority does not oppose the entire Woodland Grove development. We are, however, strongly opposed to the Overland Commons subdistrict. For clarity, we oppose the subdistrict for 3 reasons. It is in conflict with your current comprehensive plan, it's in conflict with our airport land use plan, and over the past 5 years, we have consistently voiced our opposition to any zoning changes that allows residential or more similar construction in this area. So it's for these reasons that we oppose the proposed development in its current form, and we urge the town council to do the same. Thank you for your attention. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dave. Up next, Brian Traylor.
All right, good evening. Brian Traylor. I reside at 10319 East 100 North in Zionsville. Also a member of the Save Rural Zionsville leadership team. I'll start with just a little bit of background. So last October, my daughter was actually in a very serious accident at 421 and 200 South. Not at her fault. Got to say that just in case she's watching. She was not at fault, but it could have been a lot worse. But she currently has a titanium plate, 9 screws in her arm, will have that for the rest of her life most likely, and suffers from the trauma still from that accident. So this intersection in that area is a dangerous intersection currently and will only get more dangerous with more housing. There are lots of houses that have already been approved for this general area. I would say pump the brakes, let the infrastructure catch up with the development that is already approved. And that brings me to another point. What's Zionsville's win out of this proposal? You approved Maple Lane with actually very little remonstrance. That was a win-win. I mean, they came forward with something that the town really could not turn down, an opportunity to build a new campus for Watch Us Farm. to house, some of the people most in need in our community. We're not getting anything like that in this development. There is no win other than for the developer and the landowner. On the commercial side, with the commercial coming up to Michigan Road, I would say that if you approve this PUD as it's stated, you're pretty much going to have to commit to approving more houses going forward. Reason being, if with businesses on 421, they are reliant on traffic and housing to get business. Right now, as it stands, traffic cuts in half when you cross 300 on 421. Large percentage turn left or right on 300. They don't make it that far north. So to support those businesses that are in this PUD, you're going to have to build more houses. And as you can see, the neighborhood doesn't want it. I've been in your shoes. I was a counselor before. I actually was one of the people on the committee for the airport study plan. I'm happy to go into that. I don't have that much time, though. What I would say to you is listen to the people that it impacts most, which are the people in this room. Listen to the counselors that live in the district and near the development. Your opinion on rural versus urban and density may not match up with the people that actually live in this community. Thank you,
Brian. Never got to cut him off like that at council meetings.
Actually, you did.
That's true. All right, up next, Lisa. We've got Lisa Cloghorn, Greg, I think it looks like Holbrook, Eric Henning. I like that. And then Laurel Tobin.
Good evening, Town Council. Lisa Claghorn with offices at 410 West Oak Street in Zionsville. I represent the landowner along US 421 corridor in Zionsville, Catholic Diocese of Lafayette in Indiana, along with Bob Roby and Katie Boyd James. I would like to place a concern on the record respectfully as a representative of your constituent, my client, the Catholic Church. You've heard the procedural history, the comprehensive plan process, the 18 months, the included extensive public input, technical review, and the process resulted in a future land use map that was reviewed and forwarded with a positive recommendation by your Plan Commission. In the last 30 days, there has been modifications as late as last Wednesday. Some of those modifications are as yet unclear to the landowners in the project area. Some of the concerns and ambiguities include lowering density and increasing design standards to certain properties, including ours. I want to clarify on the record that it's our intention tonight to make our position that we support landowners' rights. We oppose adjustment to the land use planning map produced by the process. We respectfully request reconsideration of the place type map as it relates to the property and the broader US 421 corridor, maintaining a density framework appropriate for 421 as a primary growth corridor, a state-controlled roadway, a development corridor particularly given the recent and ongoing utility availability and infrastructure expansion in the area. It's our suggestion that avoidance of structured, planned growth does not eliminate development pressure. Rather, it can shift residential and commercial demand into a more sporadic, less intentional pattern. That pattern, interspersed randomly throughout a community, may or may not be the desire of this group. But what we do know is that it does not represent what was produced by your consultant and the original process of the comprehensive plan. Intentional planning for growth indicates future growth conditions for NDOT, for other decision makers to keep pace with growth in the area. As suggested, those items are needed. It is with the previous planning decisions and the overall recognized potential of 421 corridor that the landowner relied on informing expectations regarding the property. Changes in the designation directly impact my client and respectfully request reconsideration of the church's property along 421 regarding the timing, consistency, and treatment of that property in alignment with the comprehensive plan to date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Holbrook.
Hello, my name is Greg Holbrook. My wife, 2 kids, and myself live at 1945 South, 1100 East. Fortunately, I can skip some of the parts that I wrote out here, but I do want to emphasize that by my count, all the approved housing we have so far will increase the population of Zionsville by 20%. I would submit that it's impossible to imagine what that's going to do to the character and to the traffic. I'm going to particularly hit on the traffic tonight. We keep hearing in these meetings that roads lag development, but we also hear that we have traffic studies that say no new roads are needed. How can both statements be said? They're mutually exclusive. If one is true, then the other cannot be true, but we're told both of them. Now, when it comes to the traffic studies, I will accept that the people who do these traffic studies are intelligent people, but I don't believe them. Meteorologists are also intelligent people. Would you believe a forecast for 3 months from now? Of course not. There's too many random variables to believe such a forecast. I submit that the number of random variables about where people decide to work, where they decide to shop, their number of trips to school, church, and other activities makes it impossible to give an accurate prediction of traffic when the approved housing will increase the population of Zionsville by 20%. So I ask that the only responsible action, I believe, is to slow down development until much of the already approved development is finished, so we can more accurately gauge how new developments will affect Zionsville. This is particularly true in the Michigan Road Corridor, which already has much development going on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, Eric, we got 2 left here. Thanks for hanging with us.
Hi, my name is Eric Henning. My wife and I raised our family at 2689 Wolverine Way. It's in the Fox Run subdivision. I sent a letter to many of the council members. It was really quite an eloquent letter. I will be less so here. The thing I want to do is I want to own up to something and apologize. I voted for Governor Braun, and so I am partially responsible for this apparent disaster that is putting pressure on the budget. I say that because never in my wildest dreams would I have considered the desperation that it must take to put a strip mall somewhere between 200 South and 300 South. That's what we're talking about. It's a strip mall. I mean, aside from safety issues, people dying on the roads, this is what it's come to. We have created a storm. We have created an unintended consequences. Us in our red county have voted for this. And the message that we meant to send, the message I meant to send, was that when you're in a storm, I want a steady hand on the tiller. If you're in a sailboat, you actually pull into the wind. You slow down. It just feels desperate. Now, when you're in a storm in Indiana, you move to the basement, and let me just lovingly say, I don't think any of the proposed buildings have a basement. So I am just baffled that we're even here talking about it. The people who are assigned to be on the Planning Commission by you, Mayor, and by the council, this never should have gotten by them. We should not be here talking about it. They voted 7-0 in favor. This is desperation. Please please deny it. Thank you.
Thank you. Up next is Laurel. Excuse me, you guys have done so great this whole time. Thank you for that. Laurel, you're up next. Laurel Tobin?
I think she's got laryngitis, from what I heard.
Nope. All right. That's it. I do want to, I do appreciate each and every one of you who came up here. I've been on both sides of this, where I've been up here and I've been down there, and I know it's not easy to speak in public, certainly not with a room full of people. I appreciate the respect that you guys showed everyone and obviously the decorum of the meeting. I would point out that any items, as we've talked about, now I'm done. Any items that we talk about this evening that are continued, items like the Pulte neighborhood that would be continued to the June meeting. And I would just point out, instead of having to pass out documents up here day of, if you get that information to Amy Lacey by Monday, May 18th, that will be included in our town council packets. So just want you guys all to know that. Yeah, all right. So we will move on at this point to the first item of old business, which is a consideration of an ordinance regarding an easement vacation. This is V-Way, second reading, ordinance 2026-07. We have Mike Dale, Director of Planning and Business, or Director of Planning and Building.
Good evening. I don't think I have anything else to add from last month, unless you have some questions for me on this item.
I just had one question, Mike. Obviously, we're here to vacate this easement on a property that's already been constructed. And as we talked about last time, this goes through a number of different steps before this scenario happens. What changes have taken place in the planning department, internal controls, to make sure this never happens again?
We did talk among us about staff, about the process. We did confirm that there is already a rigorous process in place. Staff does not believe that this was an error on our part, but rather an error borne by the builder's surveyor. So we have not taken any particular action since our last meeting to change our procedures.
So the last meeting, we were told that the developer handed a site plan in with their development proposal, and that's what they submitted to initiate the project.
Correct.
And no one from the town compared that site plan with
the recorded plat?
With the recorded plat, or what apparently is an error here?
That's correct.
And we don't have an internal control to change that?
That's correct, not at this moment.
I agree. I also asked for that to be changed, and
Okay.
I think that's something you have to take in consideration, or we start opening up a weakness that this could happen again.
Well, my concern is this is 100% fixable. Like, I don't know, Mayor Stair, if we need to put this on one of our normal meetings to address, but this has got to be, we can't start vacating easements because nobody checked to make sure it was done correctly.
This is a highly rare incident, but...
Agreed, but it is an incident that we're addressing.
Sure.
So that's...
Are you suggesting that the builder started work without approval from the town?
No, the builder did get approval from the town, did get a building permit.
Okay.
But the builder submitted a site plan that was an error, did not reflect the status of the plat, the recorded plat for the project. And then the builder brought the matter to our attention, saying, yep, he discovered a problem and he wanted to rectify the problem.
So this wouldn't be covered in an inspection, or I'm trying to figure out what step it should have been caught by us, because we check on things.
Yeah, well, staff relies on the professionalism and certifications of the design engineers and design professionals who submit plans to us. So yes, the only solution outside of what we have done in this case is to require staff to review the work that should have been done by a licensed professional.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Did the surveyor stamp the plans that he certified? So then, at that point, and I'm not trying to mess up anything. I have no idea about the internal ideas and controls. But if anyone knows anything about Indiana state statute, when a surveyor or professional designer stamps those plans, they adopt those. Those are their plans, and that's what they did.
And that is the case here.
Is that what the case here was?
Yes.
So that was a lapse in professional judgment?
Correct.
Okay. I'm not here to point fingers at anyone. I'm just making sure that when you put that registered Ross, I won't say his last, right there.
So should we have some sort of fine set up so that we encourage professionalism?
They're already risking the possibility of losing their license registration by this type of error.
It's a malpractice.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh.
So, I'm not placing blame anywhere. I just want to make sure that I set the stage that, like, I think the surveyor probably does have.
Yeah. In this case, the builder incurred a significant difficulty by having to relocate a storm pipe, by having to come to the town council to request basically forgiveness and to relocate that easement. And the builder, I'm sure, is going to have some legal matters to contend with the surveyor.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Nonetheless, though, I don't think we should punish the homeowner.
No.
No, but I think it's
Yeah,
worth,
no,
it's worth noting. I mean, our options are either we don't do this, and then they got to tear down the house and rebuild it, or we do it, and we're not going to make them tear down the house. But I
Yeah.
don't want to be in a spot again where somebody's like, hey, sorry, I didn't check this.
Right.
Well, but
it could have
we-
been catastrophic.
We
You're right.
already made that point that the house would actually have to be torn down
Yeah.
if there wasn't an empty lot next to it. So this is the only reason that this is able to be worked on by the town council. If someone comes to us with an incorrect survey that they've already acted on, they're going to have to correct it. We can't let people think that we're just going to say, oh, bummer, you can just change it.
Well, where I have worked previously, a builder did place a structure in an incorrect location into a building setback. The builder sought a variance from the BZA for that encroachment to the side yard. The BZA denied the variance, and the builder did have to scrape the house off the property.
Right. Like, this could be catastrophic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, if we weren't.
I think the reason this came to us is because the builder owned both lots.
Right.
Had it been something different, we
Oh,
would,
yeah.
we would be,
BZA.
yeah, we'd be in a different situation. So I think, the professionalism of the surveyor is where we're having an issue.
That's how
So I think they got lucky with the scenario of owning both lots.
So you see there's no future step that we should incorporate into our internal controls as a quick check that it works with our plans?
It's not a quick check cumulatively, considering the volume of permits that we process.
Okay.
When somebody submits a site plan, though, right, they're checking off and they're signing off that they've checked all these criteria, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yep,
So
we
it's
require-
ultimately on the person applying.
Yes, to provide a survey that has been rigorously reviewed by their design professionals.
That's pretty much how it is across every community I've worked in.
That is standard practice.
That is standard practice.
Well, I will withdraw my comments about internal controls. The way it was presented last time was that this was something we missed. So I appreciate
And
that.
that's my fault as well.
I appreciate that that's not the case.
I think everyone can still, we can all still go back and make sure that we're doing a better job and making sure, and now we'll just pay particular attention to these.
I think so. I think that we are going to be more hyper aware of the
Hyper-aware.
possibility this could happen.
Yeah.
Right.
All
With
right.
that,
Any other questions for Mr. Dale or comments from counselors? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve ordinance number 2026-07 on final reading.
Second.
First from Counselor Norris, a second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next on the agenda is a consideration of a planned unit development ordinance petition 2025-83-Z Woodland Grove, ordinance 2026-08. This is continued from the April 20th, 2026 meeting. We have again Mike Dale here, Director of Planning and Building, Kyle Rositeros from Denton's, and Steve Pittman from Pittman Partners.
Good evening again. Pittman Partners is here this evening to request a rezoning of 52 acres from agriculture to PUD. The project is called Woodland Grove. This is a rezoning petition to planned unit development. You're all here familiar with the site, so I will not belabor the point, but I will just briefly mention that the site is located on the east side of Michigan Road between County Roads 3 South and 2 South in Union Township. At the March 16th, 2026 Plan Commission meeting, the Plan Commission forwarded a favorable recommendation by a vote of 4-1, so it was a split vote, subject to conditions referenced in the certification to the Town Council.
Thank you, Mike.
Nothing else to say, Mr.
Nope,
Dale?
that's all.
Give me a
Go
few
ahead.
moments.
Kyle, if you would, please just introduce yourself for the record. Thank you.
Good evening, President Plunkett, councilors. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Kyle Russell-Territz. I'm an attorney with Denton's. For the record, 10 West Market Street, Suite 2700 in Indianapolis. I'm pleased to stand before you on behalf of the petitioner, Pittman Partners, with respect to the rezone petition for approximately 51 acres along US 421 for the planned unit development known as Woodland Grove. As was stated, we are requesting a rezone from rural general agricultural to planned unit development. Joining me this evening is Steve Pittman, president of Pittman Partners, and we're thrilled to bring this proposal to you, especially given that the town's plan commission sends the proposed rezone and the PUD ordinance with the aforementioned favorable recommendation. I'd like to certainly take a moment and thank Mr. Dale and the town's highly qualified zoning staff who have been tremendously helpful, as always, throughout this entire process. We appreciated their thorough staff report issued prior to the Plan Commission public hearing and staff voicing its support of the Plan Commission issuing that favorable recommendation. The best representation of the proposed development is the best representation of the overall development plan for Woodland Grove is the concept plan shown here. This is the same concept plan affixed to the PUD ordinance as Exhibit 2. Pittman Partners has agreed that the final development plan for the property must be materially consistent with the layout shown here, subject to flexibility to reduce density, increase lot size, or modify the number or size of commercial buildings, subject, of course, to the standards and maximums set forth in the ordinance. The concept plan generally depicts many elements of the proposed project, including its 4 sub-districts, the Michigan Road, or also known as the Commercial Sub-District, Discovery Commons, most often referred to as the Townhome Area, Overland Commons, and the Tree Preservation and Wildlife Protection Area. Other elements include the singular entrance from US 421 Michigan Road, welcoming visitors and residents alike into the low-intensity commercial sub-district with a maximum of 50,000 square feet of limited commercial uses. The wide boulevard bifurcating the maximum 121 townhomes with masonry materials on the front and side facades, bordered by rear-loaded single-family on the east, providing a buffer between the townhomes and the traditional single-family in the Overland Commons area. After traveling that boulevard through the commercial corridor and the Discovery Commons area, which I would note is approximately 30 acres of real estate, you enter into that Overland Commons sub-district where you find that more traditional single-family neighborhood of curved streets bordered by along the north by that beautiful amenity area, that 5-acre tree and wildlife preservation area that will include a walking trail and amenity area, including benches and other amenities that I'll touch on later in my presentation. And then Overland Commons seamlessly connecting to the existing and under construction Union Woodlands subdivision that you're all familiar with. This concept plan and the PUD ordinance itself underwent great improvements before, during, and after our 3 public hearings before the Plan Commission. I'll highlight certain of those most notable improvements, beginning with our January 2026 concept plan, moving again then to our February concept plan, and then into March, just highlighting a few. Most importantly, including decreasing our overall density, removing 30 townhomes. This project started with 150 townhomes. It now sits at 120 townhomes. Removing more intense commercial uses. The PUD ordinance outlines very few commercial uses being permitted. Increasing those amenity areas, including a dog park, a pavilion area, that central boulevard bifurcating the townhomes that I noted earlier, the walking trail with crushed limestone throughout and those benches, higher lighting standards throughout, limiting commercial development to 1.5 stories. That was introduced at the March 2026 concept plan, 1.5 stories on the commercial side of the development. Anti-monotony language around the townhome development, plus undulating streets throughout the development and greater landscaping standards, starting with that 12-foot walking path along Michigan Road and then continuing west to east throughout the development, which then again led us to the recommendation for approval of a 4-1 vote from that Plan Commission. As this council and the Plan Commission well knows, the petitioner must satisfy the conditions of Indiana law, and the council must pay reasonable regard to these five considerations. The Plan Commission paid reasonable regard, and I repeat and respectfully repeat that same request tonight for this council, given the written and oral testimony of the petitioner and otherwise, as you've heard, to pay reasonable regard to the 5 considerations and approve the Woodland Grove PUD rezone. The council is not required to find that all 5 have been perfectly met, perfectly satisfied. These instead are standards from the legal and practical framework, again, a legal framework as well as a practical framework for deciding whether the rezone is reasonable in the public interest and otherwise whether or not the petitioner has reasonably met each of these 5 factors and considerations when weighed all together. Please allow me to evaluate all 5 of these before I open it up to considerations and questions. The rezoning, importantly, should align with the community's long-range vision, its land use map, its future growth areas, its housing goals. It does not, again, have to match perfectly, but it shouldn't overwhelmingly conflict with those goals. As the council well knows, particularly given tonight's agenda, this petition comes before you at a time when the town is reevaluating those goals and that long-term vision. We suggest that the proposal actually reasonably satisfies both the existing comp plan's recommendation while also reasonably satisfying the draft and admittedly ever-evolving new comp plan. I welcome any discussion that the council wants to have tonight about that draft comp plan, but understanding we will focus my opening remarks and our discussion on that recommendation of the 2021 adopted comp plan as amended by the Airport Area Strategic Land Use Plan. That land use plan that this council spent many months reviewing with the airport and other constituents had a central goal to identify strategies to allow Zionsville to grow while protecting and enhancing the airport. Central to that goal is identifying complementary operations and conflicting uses. More dense residential uses where there is some expectation of noise disruption can be considered compatible. That is very important as a contrast to some of the comments you heard earlier this evening. Examples of that dense residential use are townhomes. Townhomes have more limited activities outside, and they have inherently noisier environments with shared walls, higher density. Other complementary uses identified in the comprehensive plan are those commercial, light commercial uses without concentrations of persons and visitors. Development in the what is termed mixed-use campus housing district should be intended to attract users more resilient to airport disturbances. Primary development is intended to have attached campus-style housing following a traditional urban form. Uses may include supportive and low-intensity commercial, also following a traditional urban form. And commercial uses should support daily needs, restaurants, daycare, dry cleaning, groceries, office, small medical facilities. These are all uses listed within that airport strategic plan, many of which we have removed from the permitted uses, but many of which, including office and small medical facilities, are permitted uses within Woodland Grove. Homes connected like townhomes or row houses arranged in a coordinated campus-like setting, multiple buildings grouped together with shared spaces, pathways, green areas, meet that definition of mixed-use campus housing. As I've identified on the screen here, there's the different sub-districts meet the comprehensive plan in either whether that be the low-intensity commercial areas, whether that be the mixed product residential type that I just offered. Of course, then the Woodland Grove Tree Preservation and Wildlife Area, this blend of uses is intended to maintain significant open spaces. Where there is some question that we had discussions with at the Plan Commission is whether the subdivision of properties allows additional housing units, the subdivision of properties to allow additional housing units should be discouraged, and that is acknowledged in the Overland Commons. You heard that from the Airport District. Where I call the council's attention to is when we look at that area, that agritourism agricultural district, I call to your attention the permitted agricultural zoning uses within the town of Zionsville, within that ag designation. I will not belabor this point, but this is that list of permitted uses within an ag district. Many of the residents in this room may live on a property that uses their ag property like this, may live next to it. We're all familiar with this, with these uses. The question is whether or not, the development between that mixed-use campus housing, the Woodland Grove Commercial District and the Townhome District, and then the property known as Union Woodlands to the east, whether or not this parcel, or really half of a parcel, which is about 20 acres, 25 acres, 5 of which is that tree preservation area, is best categorized for agritourism or agricultural uses, whether or not that long list of agricultural uses is the best use. And that's where I call this council to evaluate, not for us to match the comprehensive plan to the letter of the law, but whether or not it makes more sense conceptually, logically, from a land use practical perspective, that your highly qualified support staff in Mr. Dale's office identified in their staff report that actually the uses of a single family use in that area would actually be a more logical connection between the development of mixed-use campus housing and the traditional single family to the east in the Union Woodlands. I'll return for a moment to the other considerations here. As we've already heard tonight, the proposed development is situated within an evolving corridor of this town. I encourage the council to look at this petition through a clean set of lenses and see this corridor as not just a rural 1-mile stretch from 200 South to 300 South. A stretch, mind you, that contains existing commercial uses of a driving range, a landscape supplier, a property that has a history of use variances for commercial uses, event centers, wineries, distilleries, tasting rooms, but rather a corridor that includes residential subdivisions of Bradley Ridge, Maple Lane Club, which I remind this council approved a PUD that has a significant commercial component to it in its subdistrict. Union Woodlands, an executive airport, a substantial commercial development within this subdistrict, that the current conditions and the character of the current structures and uses in each district is not confined to simply the rural elements that you heard during the public comment period. Instead, as we zoom out, as we look at the other elements, we see an actively developing commercial subdivision in Appaloosa Crossing that boasts restaurants, a gas station, bank, and a fully occupied townhomes, a corridor that will be impacted by and greatly benefit from the future development and the vision of this council to bring an office and innovation park, a regional activity center, and other great commercial dense uses to the intersection of those main arterials of U.S. Highway 421 and State Road 32. We look to then the most desirable use for which the land in each district is adopted. The PUD is in direct response to the growth and the changing conditions of this corridor, the growing need for diverse housing types. The attached lower maintenance housing fills a missing gap between single-family homes and other uses. The project supports population retention, allowing residents in this community to stay in or even return to the town of Zionsville through different life stages. We see this along 421 at Appaloosa Crossing, Holiday Farms, and the like, and this responds to a real evolving housing need, not just a single project request. The conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. This will improve property values for many reasons. In particular, the extension of public utilities, the lens through which many of the constituents view this is a community and a corridor that had not realized the benefit of the extension of sewer and public water. That inherently will increase the property values of property in this corridor. Creation of new assessed value in this corridor also contributes to property values. Petitioner Pittman Partners estimates the townhomes to generate new AV of $500,000 each. Alley-loaded single-family generated new AV of $650,000 each. The more traditional single-family homes generated new AV of approximately $800,000 each. Just with those estimates alone on the residential part of this project, we estimate $900 million to $100 million of new assessed value to be generated by only the residential portion. So what do those numbers mean? Big numbers. Hard to wrap our heads around it. So I'm going to give you some percentages. Last year's total AV in this taxing district, which is the Union Zionsville Rural District, equaled just over $400 million. So we expect Woodland Grove, even before considering the AV impact of the commercial project, would increase the total AV in this district, this taxing district, by 20 to 25%, assuming all else held equal, accounting for 15 to 20% or more of the total AV in this district. We then add the commercial AV, assessed value, adding more than $5 million of new AV, subject to that ever-beloved 3% tax cap rather than the 1% tax cap that permeates this great town. Based on this year's 3% commercial AV in Union Zionsville Rural Taxing District, this project would increase the total 3% AV by 30 to 40%, accounting for 25 to 30% of the total 3% AV after construction. Increasing the total 3% AV in this tax district by 30 to 40%. Road and park impact fees in excess of $800,000. The adoption of a PUD, particularly in turn the development of very detailed conceptual plan, one that we've shown you this evening, that was always a cry from the neighbors to make sure that there was a detailed conceptual plan that was followed, that was materially consistent, that was not a bait and switch, a term that is so often thrown around, one that would be followed, would allow for a great deal of coordination and planning to occur at this very early stage of development. We then look to the final bullet point here, responsible development and growth. In this type of development, we see attached housing in a village-style format. Walkable, compact, thoughtful neighborhoods with a trail accessible, with a boulevard, with usable commercial uses. A community where Zionsville can maintain competitiveness by allowing modern housing formats within a high design standard. 421 is the most logical place for future commercial development as identified by this council. It is a major corridor for central Indiana and this town. It will continue to see development. This responsible development and growth of this development plan also, most importantly, from a traffic perspective, removes all of the traffic, removes a great deal of traffic from the Union Woodlands development by giving access points off of US 421 as opposed to its singular entrance exit off of 200 South. We heard a lot tonight about emergency access. let's think about all of the emergency access issues that may exist at Union Woodlands when it's fully built out, that if there is an emergency access needed to Union Woodlands and it has a singular egress point and fire, safety, police, otherwise ambulances unable to access. Great. This is a great infill opportunity, and it is a responsible growth opportunity. Pittman Partners is a well-known developer in this community. In fact, just mere weeks ago, in combination with its development partner, Skinnell Properties, for the Great Development Silo Apartments, won the Transaction of the Year Awards for multifamily mixed-use development for the Indiana chapter of NAIOP. Pittman Partners has a proven record of bringing high-quality mixed-use development, commercial development, residential development, tying them together and developing them on the US 421 corridor. This town needs commercial AV. This town needs an ability to connect Union Woodlands to US 421. And those traffic concerns identified, as we have talked about at the Plan Commission stage and will be discussed tonight, are a INDOT discussion. But I give you a frame of reference that along 421 from 106th Street to 116th Street, 3 lights were installed in just 10 years due to the development between that corridor. And we expect the same, and has been the same discussion along the 300 corridor, the 200 corridor, and continuing north. There's been a traffic study conducted for this project, and when we talk about responsible development and growth, there will be a specific turn lane for traffic moving south and turning east into the development. There will also be A-cell lanes and D-cell lanes and A-cell lanes on the east side of the street, a significant amount of right-of-way dedicated, and additional buffering on the east side of the street. I will offer in closing, as my slideshow failed. Thank you. Petitioners' commitments concerning the use and development of this real estate. There will be no tax increment financing sought by this project. There will be a declaration of covenants recorded and an owners association formed. All common area maintenance will be the responsibility of the owners association. 100% masonry materials will be used on the front and side facades of townhome buildings. Outdoor fitness equipment along the walking trail and the tree preservation subdistrict will be installed. There will be a community educational amenity area installed south of the tree preservation subdistrict. Copies of those commitments were included in your packet. I welcome any discussion tonight about other questions you might have about general density, relation to the comprehensive plan. But I ask for the council's support and approval of the PUD this evening, as the petitioner has satisfied the conditions for rezone. And given the lengthy discussion at the public hearing and the lengthy discussion I anticipate will follow, I preemptively thank you for your time. Thank you, council.
Thanks, Kyle. Thank you, Kyle. All right, council, so we've got Mike Dale here, we've got Kyle here. Obviously, to his point, a lengthy list of considerations or commitments that I think Heather wants to weigh in at some point as we go through this. But at this point, we'll open it up to council comments or concerns. I would ask, obviously, I'm assuming a lot of us have comments, so, let's try not to talk over each other, and if you would, just let's get recognized and do it. So go ahead. Anybody first? No comments? I have a question.
I have comments, but I hate to go first.
Well, I mean, so I guess one of the questions I have, Kyle, and I'll go through some of the density stuff as well. So you're petitioning, or you're positioning 120 townhomes here, correct? Is it 100 or 120?
It is 120, part of the, as proposed on the conceptual plan.
Okay. I received an email today saying it was going down to 100.
If there is support from the council for a reduction of the number of townhomes, the petitioner is agreeable to considering a reduction from 120.
So that's a condition. If we wanted that in there, that would be, okay.
I think I asked for that. I asked for them to make it more palatable. And the conversations that I had with people in that area had said that they were intimidated by having townhomes north of 300. And so I had conversations with Steve Pittman, which I have to say has been very available, and I appreciate that, about the possibility of lowering density and actually lowering height. So I've asked for it to become 2 stories. He's shaking his head. I've just tried to take this project. One of the things I've always said is that I'm going to try and put confidence in our commissions that we set up, so.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate that. I think as we go through here, I just want to get some clarification stuff, and then I'm all for,
No, that's fine, that's fine.
everything
I
as we
just
go
wanted
through
to let
here.
you know that I did meet with him, and he did agree to that, and that's
Yeah.
why it was in that.
So the potential commitments would be 100 townhomes and 53 single-family homes. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So the,
Okay. And then while Heather's getting that together, the other questions I had, Kyle, that you could just maybe clarify, in your presentation, the connectivity between the Woodland Grove and the Union Woodlands, you mentioned that lot in the middle. It's a little bit confusing. There's renderings on here that show, the concept plan shows homes in there, but you said that you would ask us to make that decision. Is this or is this not part of that?
It is 100% of it. The concept plan as shown on the screen, included in the PUD, is included in it.
Okay.
As, for clarification of that comment.
So that was just, this empty spot here was.
Correct. So that, the slide just after that
Yeah.
is a depiction of how, while the, that eastern half of the development may not follow exactly what the existing comprehensive plan recommends for that eastern half, the petitioner is proposing what's on the next page.
Okay.
Because it provides the connectivity in a low-density way between the more dense development and Union Woodlands.
All right. Thank you for that clarification.
So on points of clarification?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's a good.
Yeah.
Probably
let's-
to get that figured out
There's
first.
I have a couple of questions. A lot of talk about sewer utilities. So what is the plan as of right now if this were to be proposed? Where's the sewer going and how is it getting there? I understand you're not TRICO. I do understand Mr. Pittman's a member of TRICO, but tell me about that.
Sure, and only because, Counselor Norris, I think there were some questions about the commitments. Would you like me to resolve? Are we good on?
Well, that's, let's go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to, you might explain what your handout is, just for the council. I wouldn't go through it in detail, just version A versus
It's-
version B.
I just got handed two commitments, which is fine.
Yep.
I'm not going to be ready.
Say again?
I'm not going to be ready to vote on this. Like,
Understood. I'll allow the counselor, I'll help the counselors kind of walk through what was just handed out to you.
Yeah, and I wouldn't do that yet in detail. So I think maybe just for clarification, what you have is the commitments that were made to the Plan Commission, which you've just been given the summary of, those 6 or so commitments, and then a red line version based on conversations that I think that Mr. Pittman and council have had with, I think Mr. Pittman's had with members of the town council requesting additional revisions and comments from the community prior to the meeting. I think that's the 2 documents. And so, what council's tried to do is create some additional commitments that are redlined, just as a point of information in response to that.
And you council meaning
Meaning
the
individual.
petitioner's council, not town
Exactly.
council.
Exactly.
council with an EL.
Correct.
Yes, exactly.
Just to clarify as well, it's not.
Well, hold on, let's let Counselor Norris go through.
Can we go through these commitments? Can you just breeze through these, give us high level what these additional commitments are, and then go back to my questions?
Is it the blue one?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Counselors? you should have two new documents in front of you. They are the same document, except one is in a, what I would call clean version. There's no redlining, blue text, any changes. The other document is, again, the same, but it shows text in blue. That text in blue is new text, meaning in your packet that Ms. Lacy circulated had a set of 6 commitments. We have now added commitments 7 through 13 to that. So if helpful to you, I would just look at perhaps at the red line version so you can just see the version. But I know myself, I sometimes find it difficult to read blue text, a lot of blue text. So I just offered also a clean version. So commitments 7 and 13 are offered new this evening. And in an effort to summarize them, the petitioner is agreeing to reduce the maximum number of townhomes.
Do you have this available to put up on,
I do.
for everybody to see it?
Hold on 1 second, just need to find the mouse here.
You guys can read that just fine, right?
So I listed the first 6 we made based off of town council feedback and discussion with my client. We are offering new commitments. One is to include outdoor musical, engaging sensory activity, sensory play, outdoor equipment along either the walking trail or the community educational trail in the Overland Commons and Wildlife Preservation District. The second newest commitment, number 8, the maximum height of buildings constructed within the commercial subdistrict, also known as the Michigan Road Subdistrict, will be 35 feet. We've added additional conceptual imagery for the Michigan Road Subdistrict, as well as Discovery Commons, which is the townhome, so that we reflect the brick facade. In the same way as we are reducing the maximum height in the commercial subdistrict, we're also reducing the maximum height in the townhome subdistrict to 35 feet. So in summary, every single subdistrict in this PUD has a maximum height of 35 feet. As context, every single subdistrict in Maple Lane Club also had 35 feet maximum height. Just kind of frame of reference. Finally, each townhome constructed within Woodland Grove will be no more than 2 stories. And the last new commitment, that there will be no more than blank, as just offered to President Plunkett, there will be no more than 100 townhomes constructed in Discovery Commons. So we're reducing the height. We are eliminating 20 townhomes. We started at 150. Tonight we presented 120. We are now proposing 100.
Is it your intent to replace exhibits D and E with those in the PUD? Because I noticed that we've added conceptual imagery here, right?
Yes.
But it doesn't, but the language doesn't necessarily take away that conceptual imagery as found within.
Yep, so the exhibits to the PUD are not in conflict with the 2 new conceptual imageries. So the suggestion is that it will be an additional conceptual imagery. But of course, as we are developing, there are layers, in the same way as there's layers of a underlying zoning, a Michigan road overlay, in that conceptual imagery, architecture may indicate where windows are or peaked roofs or otherwise, but we still have to follow all of the conditions with respect to masonry and height and otherwise.
And I totally understand that. I'll get to that during my comments
Sure.
about the conceptual imagery. I know that when you put conceptual imagery in of lower quality and then you put super high quality, usually you end up somewhere in the middle or somewhere on the lower end. I only want high quality conceptual imagery in any PUD. I will talk about that later.
If the council is agreeable to any of the conceptual imagery being replaced in the body of the ordinance, we are certainly comfortable doing so. I know that at times there has been questions from the council of whether or not we can modify text within the ordinance after the Plan Commission has already issued a recommendation. So instead, Councilor Norris, we issued it in the form of a commitment.
Okay. Back to my original question, sewer utilities, what's the plan?
Sure.
Let
Steve
Mr.
will
Pittman talk
answer
about that.
Thank you. For the record, my name's Steve Pittman. I'm own Pittman Partners and the developer in this project. I also happen to be on the board of TRICO Regional Sewer Utility District. And let me just preface with that with I'm not a civil engineer. But in terms of sitting in board meetings and being aware of that discussion, when Union Woodlands was developed, Union Woodlands, they put in a required that Union Woodlands put in a temporary lift station so that Union Woodlands could be developed. But TRICO by law, through their commitments, I think it's the IURC, they are required to serve everything up to 200 to the north and 421 to the west. So in order for them to meet their commitments as the service provider in that area, they will have to come in at a later time and put in sewers deeper to tie into the Union Woodlands sewers that will then eliminate that lift station. When that happens, or when they do that, they will, I think Mrs. Borman, Teresa, her comments, they will come through a portion of her property. My understanding is that a portion of it they'll bore a portion of it, but there's a portion that they can't bore. And there will be some loss of trees. I personally think it'll be insignificant. But yeah, that will be part of the plan.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Ultimately, that's TRICO's decision. Yes. It's called eminent domain.
Correct.
I think those were the preliminary questions I had. Thank you. I didn't want to hog too much time.
No, it's all right. Vice President Burke, did you have something?
Just on a commitment, I don't see it on here, but I thought there was discussion of townhomes being 100% brick all the way around. I think it's on the previous handout, it's maybe everything but the back side, but I don't see it in blue ink. Just want to clarify if that's something you guys have agreed to or just missed.
Councilor Burke, the commitment number 4 indicates 100% of each building facade of the townhome except the rear facade being constructed with masonry.
Okay, thank you.
Is that something that we could ask for?
Ask for anything.
I know, I'm asking. Can we get more brick on the backside, or is
I'm
that-
sorry, what did you ask?
Can we get brick on the backside if at least seen by
Yeah,
a
let me just
street,
tell you our
or-
thoughts on that. We've come to you with a plan from the Plan Commission with their support, 50% on the sides and backs. We've agreed to increase that 100%. Our thinking was these are all alley-fed, the garage being behind the building, so when you would drive through that, you would not see the backs of the buildings. And so that would be the opposite of what you see at Appaloosa Crossing on their two-story townhomes. You see, some of them you see the back right when you pull in, and then when you pull in, you see the front that's got a garage door right on the front. And people were talking to us, they didn't like that. They asked us to put the garage door in the back, so we agreed to do that. Now, if it was super important for you all that we did put brick on the back, if that was a condition to get approval, I mean, we would do that. You know, we're, with all the different things we're doing, I guess that's one thing I'd prefer not to do. It'd be unnecessary. But if it was important to you all to do that, we would commit to it if we had to.
Anybody feel strongly about that?
I will during my comments.
Okay. Again, I met with them, and I was trying to find a way for this to be more acceptable to the area. And so I worked on density. I asked about brick. The path, I wanted enhancements. I'm on the arts committee for our town that's been meeting, I think, in line with Main Street. And we've been looking for putting, I guess, experiential art in our town. And so I mentioned that to Mr. Pittman, and I actually considered having some sort of sensory area, since we are going to have a portion of our community living right there with special needs, puts a little walking path with both exercise equipment and sensory enhancements in the area where we have just put a neighborhood for people with special needs. So that was the explanation for that request on the number 7 with the outdoor music equipment. It kind of brought my two hats together of the Disabilities Committee and the Arts Committee, trying to enhance our town. And I do think that that is a nice benefit that he was offering as a commitment. And going down to 100, I thought was a pretty good commitment as well. And as I started to say to Jason, it is, you know, when I get something from the Plan Commission that passes favorably, you know, our role is to make it better if we can for the town. So that's just kind of where I was standing on this.
I appreciate that. I would say, as a point of clarification, I would like to see items come through the Plan Commission in final form, so that we're not doing stuff like this. But that's a different deal that hopefully we address soon.
There's two sides to both coins. I could see both.
So, yeah, I guess, any other questions or comments from counselors?
I got a few comments. This item did come through the Plan Commission, and it did get a 4-to-1 vote. That one dissent was my vote. The dissent kind of came around the idea of interpretation of reasonable regard to the comprehensive plan, the airport study, and the terminology campus housing and what or how that's defined. Kyle, you've done a great job interpreting your explanation for campus-style housing. I don't necessarily think I agree with that comment. The other, number 2, in the reasonable regard, with current character and current structures, that's another one that I don't really believe that these qualify as with regard to the current character and current structures. Is this the most desirable use for the land? I'm going to pass on that one. As we move to the 4th, conservation of property values. I believe that the conservation of property values, I believe this will increase property, potentially values in the area. I think there's people that would disagree with me on that comment. However, that's my belief. And then, is this responsible development and growth? I think that's another one that I have an X on my paper. I don't know that this is responsible when it comes to the area. Would this fit in another area? Absolutely. I just wanted to kind of get that out there. I do want to say that through my work on the Plan Commission, the developer did a great job with doing and answering some of the requests of the Plan Commission with regards to the dark skies requirements, as well as the anti-monotony. As you can see, it's on my screen, excuse me. You know, they did put some effort into this, and additional effort. And I guess as I sit up here on the council, I do struggle with this vote. This is a very, this vote is very deep to me based on my denial at the Planning Commission. With that being said, I do have a question of the attorney. We're talking about the public or the outdoor musical equipment area. The intent of that was to be a public-facing, at least my understanding with a conversation with the developer was that it was going to be a public-facing or utilized park style, and I don't see parking for that. Is that, am I missing something there? Is it not public? Is it still geared toward just the neighborhood? And that's my question.
Thank you, Councilor Melton, for introductory comments as well as the question. Ultimately, the streets throughout the neighborhood are public streets. There is not additional parking offered in the single-family residential corridor, but there is additional parking along the boulevard in the Discovery Commons sub-district, which would allow residents, guests, visitors, and alike, while it will not be publicized as a public park, there certainly will be a plethora of individuals in the community enjoying the access to the walking trail, which will then include the workout equipment, and then connecting to the educational area, which will sit in just south of the tree preservation area, which the exact location of the outdoor musical equipment still needs to be identified, but it will either be in this area or in the walking trail as well. So additional parking other than what the subdivision is already contemplating has not been contemplated specifically for that area, but there is public parking for the benefit of the general community throughout the Discovery Commons corridor. That is a short walk to that sub-district.
I think that's a great question, Craig. Is there a way to designate an area of even a small parking lot so that it would be actually useful to people outside of the community that have to drive there?
Well, I'm just going to add, and those two trailheads that where people can walk in and enjoy that area, we will have signage that we will put. So it's, as Kyle said, it's not a public park, but it is open to the public. And we'll have signage that identifies that's back there and people can have access to it. As far as additional parking, we haven't contemplated that. We have it's a public street and the street width is wide enough that you can have parking on one side and still have two moving lanes, in addition to the additional parking that Kyle pointed out on our boulevard that Brad Johnson, the Plan Commission, asked us to enhance to not only create a boulevard with green space, but also to create additional parking. So I don't think that this is an area that, a lot of people are going to be going to that would be like the park that you guys are doing up at the Carpenter Nature Preserve, a place like that. But certainly people can walk to it. Everybody's welcome to use it.
Certainly easily accessible from the residents in Union Woodlands as well, as it's a short walk from the exit to their community to the first trailhead on the east.
Any other questions from councilors or comments?
You ready for me?
Sure.
Well, I have a question, if you wouldn't wait.
Go ahead if you have questions,
I just
please.
have a question, and it's to really even Mike, Dale, and/or the petitioner, but I'm still struggling with how this is aligned to the current comp plan, the airport study. I realize the staff report said that it was, and I've heard different comments today, and that it's acknowledged that it does not fit the comp plan in terms of residential homes, but that it does on the front end when it comes to townhomes, as what I would struggle with, which is loosely defined campus housing. But in the 2022 plan, it really calls out, number one, low rise, but when it gets to the specifics, it says 1 story. And I'm happy to see 35 feet, now that is 1 story, and thank you for agreeing to limit the townhomes as well to the same height limit, which is also called for.
An abundance of open space is also.
No, I'm getting to that, yes. Okay. But I was just, it's just baffling to me that, and again, maybe this will all be replaced soon with a new comp plan, but I know it's one of the factors we're supposed to look at, but for me, considering what we're going through now with this particular comp plan that we're working on, I know it's not part of this, but it's incredibly important to me as a town council member, and I would think as plan commission members as well, and any developer wanting to come to Zionsville, that they really know what the vision statement of our town is and what the mission statement. No company would have, would operate without a strategic plan and a vision. And I would be hard pressed to pass a comp plan in a month and immediately say, that shouldn't be the most important thing that we look at. And so I am paying more attention to this, and so I just have struggled with that. But I will say, I'm happy to know that it is one story at 35 feet up front with the commercial, and that the townhomes are now same as 35 feet. I don't know if I agreed with the staff report, but I do think that maybe you're fixing that in your commitments now. So just pointing that out, I've really struggled with that, and so I'm happy to see that. Just another couple comments that I have appreciated on the commercial use up front. I like the design. I like the times of operation and what you've limited to uses. It's not a lot of retail, which also works on lighting. You've also made commitments around lighting up front. Again, I think 1.5 stories was a strong commitment up front. You could have probably done more in that space. I also appreciate the new news today that you're looking at 100 units as opposed to 120. And one question on anti-monotony. Is that just for the single-family homes, or is that also in the townhomes? Because the photo of the townhomes all are uniform.
Thank you, Councilor Burke, for all the comments. With respect to your question, I'll address it separately. There is an anti-monotony architectural standards with respect to the single family, but perhaps what was most discussed and evaluated as most important for the Plan Commission was the anti-monotony of the location of the townhomes. So if I can direct your attention to the concept plan, you'll see in the rear of sort of the road, the street between the rows of townhomes, which will in fact be an alley, that they curve, they undulate. It was very important to members of the Plan Commission that if you were standing at the end of an alley, perhaps where my cursor is here, that when you looked down the alley, you didn't see the front of a town, or excuse me, the rear of a townhome, or if you stood at the front elevation of a townhome and you looked down the front, that all the townhomes just lined up. So it was very important, and this is captured at the bottom of Exhibit 5, that all of the rear facades as well as the front facades will have this undulating character to them, sort of an offset character to them.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know if it actually meant that they would look different or they all would be aesthetically all the same.
Ultimately, as the commitments have matured, agreeing to 100% masonry materials, we're evaluating what the masonry materials will be, but we do expect a variety of townhome materials to be used.
There's still a number of concerns, primarily around traffic. I would point out that Union Woodlands, which I guess the idea is to feed that traffic now through this project onto Michigan Road, and it was referenced that those are maybe already something that's allowed. I would just point out that in the 2022 plan, that was grandfathered in. It wasn't anything that this council or previous council voted for. And so I hesitate to ever use that as something that would justify this use, because I don't think it fit the airport plan from 2022. But who else? Or is it Tim starting?
Yeah, so I do have a lot of comments, but before I do, just for my own clarity, many of you did not speak tonight, so I'm just wondering, anyone that does not have a financial interest in this, is anyone supportive of this development that does not have a financial interest? Okay, that's helpful for me. So I can't sit here and look out at all of you and not consider everything that was said. In fact, it was said very eloquently. I do appreciate Mr. Henry's comments, though, because Mr. Pittman does do great work. If you do have an opportunity to go see what he's done at the silo, it is absolutely outstanding work. I don't think we are here questioning the quality of Mr. Pittman's work. What we are questioning are a number of things, one of which I cannot overlook is the traffic situation. Now, if you don't currently live in the rural part of our town, you probably don't realize how bad it is getting. I didn't. I lived for 20 years in Fox Hollow and had no idea what traffic was like because I never drove up Michigan Road. I never drove down 200 South, 300 South. You cannot get on those roads now, and I'm not telling many of you anything new, without getting into significant traffic. And that is before Maple Lane. That is before Bradley Ridge. It is only going to get worse. It is dangerous on Michigan Road, and I have to look at that. So that brings me back to just the timing of this development, right? I've looked through the old comprehensive plan, I've read the new one. There is no comment in either one of those documents that says when something has to happen. We talk about land use, we talk about thoroughfares, we talk about all kinds of stuff, but there's nothing in there with a clock ticking that says we need something here now. So my first comment up front is we don't need this right now because we're not ready to absorb the growth that we've already approved. The other part is rural versus urban, and this gets back to the Planning Commission. I looked up rural versus urban. You're welcome to do it on your phones right now. It doesn't matter what search engine you use. When you look up the definition of rural versus urban, or suburban for that matter, there's one word that comes up no matter what search you do, and it's density. I was really surprised when I saw written in the paper that 2 of our Planning Commission members said they don't care about density. They said all they care about is quality. That is the defining definition of rural versus urban or suburban, and you're going to say it doesn't matter? It does matter. And when you look at this, to Mr. Henry's point, this is more dense than the previous plan that we voted against. Please keep in mind with the overlay.
It's no longer, Counselor, just to
What's
keep in
that?
mind. It's no longer to keep in mind. It's no longer as dense.
It's no longer as dense?
Correct.
With 120 townhomes, it's no longer as dense?
Correct, and we've made a commitment to bring it down to 100. So the density is now 2.9
Okay, well,
units
the
per
giggles,
acre.
I stand corrected. My point is this, if we have Planning Commission members that don't care about density, they're not representing all of Zionsville, right? I think we've all agreed that we want this town to remain unique. And when I ask people on the street, what makes Zionsville unique? I hear schools, fantastic schools. I hear our parks. I hear our quaint downtown. I hear the safety of our police and our fire department. But there's lots of communities that have quaint downtowns and good schools. What makes us unique is we have all of those things and a rural community, a significant rural community. And we are digging into that community every time we approve a dense subdivision that should be in an urban space. So I have to, I know we have a 4-to-1 favorable recommendation, but we also have Plan Commission members that don't care about density. So I don't know how to even consider their vote anymore. And for that reason, I would encourage the other counselors to look at this map that is on the board right now. Look at the area that's grayed out. Look to the north. Look to the west. Look to the south. With the exception of that little road that's going to connect to Union Woodlands, everything is 1 acre or bigger, or just open space. This is the definition of leapfrog development. This is what opens the door to more of this. So, and by the way, the greened out space, that's country wood, and those are all 1 acre or bigger. So the bottom line is, I'm looking at your own map, and I'm saying, this doesn't fit, this isn't rural. And if nobody in this room wants it, I would say that is the vote of Zionsville saying, this doesn't fit. So I'll just conclude by saying again, I respect that Mr. Pittman has met with many people. He's made concessions. I appreciate other counselors making a significant attempt to get those concessions. The bottom line is, at this point right now, for me, this cannot go in. Thank you. That's it.
Al, you mentioned earlier the density, to Councilman McElderry's point, the density is off there. What is your total density on this project?
It is now 2.9 units per acre for the entire
2.9.
development.
So how many acres are we on here?
51.
51. So you've got 150.
51.6. We're at 153, excuse me.
So how many acres are the townhomes on? They were on 24 at first, now they're on 19 and a half, is that right?
The sub-district, which is the Discovery Commons sub-district, which includes the townhomes and the rear-loaded, single-family is about 19 and a half. I would be happy to present this slide, which was included in your packet, to offer some comments on density and relation to existing comprehensive plan and some of the neighboring developments, acknowledging that these numbers are numbers still at the 120 townhome units.
But at 100 homes, townhomes on 19 and a half acres, I'd have to do the math on that one, but the 2.9 is the whole project.
Whole
It's not
project.
just that.
Yes, sir, Council.
Yeah, 100 townhomes on 19 and a half acres is 5.1 per acre.
And to that point, just to clarify, the picture that you have had up for quite some time, that's with 120, right?
Yes.
So your concession of 20 would remove 2 of those yellow blocks, right? Because they're in
Councilor
blocks of-
Stein, each of the yellow blocks has 5 townhomes, so it would remove,
Consider the square, so 10, I mean a whole block, the front and back.
Yeah.
So 2 of those would go away. How many homes are going to fill those spots? Because that may or may not be figured in.
no additional homes.
That's going to be green space?
We are not impacting the maximum number of rear-loaded single-family or traditional family. It is merely a reduction in the maximum number of townhomes. No new single-family homes.
Joe, are you asking, though, that those 10 or those 20 units are gone, the cut lot coverage, does the lot coverage change, or is that just an empty lot? Or like those 2 areas are
That's
just
where I'm
green
going.
space?
I'm
or-
just making sure that we're not going -20, +8 for a net impact of really 12 units. You see where I'm going with that?
I do. So Counselor, the maximum number of rear-loaded remains 13. The maximum number of townhomes will be reduced to 100, no more.
No other changes.
So it will just be additional green space or additional space between the structures. So very much as you just described it, we could remove these 2 yellow buildings and these 2 yellow buildings, and would be additional green space, or remove these 4 yellow buildings and a greater green space with a pavilion, any combination of that in the Discovery Commons subdistrict.
I haven't seen any
Happy to-
rear-loaded homes in rural Zionsville either. Just the comment that we're having rear-loaded townhomes and homes, that is urban by definition.
Yeah, many of
have
the
rear-
developments also
our
did
whole
not have
neighborhood's
public
rear-loaded.
utilities available to them.
Yeah, it is rural.
Stonegate's rural.
It's
Our
on,
entire
it's on the
neighborhood's
rural, it's in a rural subdivision.
As we compare the eastern portion of the development, that single-family portion of the development, east of that red line, which is the demarcation between the comp plan recommendations, we have a total unit count of 1.49, 1.5 units per acre. You can see that falls directly in line with and lower than Union Woodlands, Brookhaven, and Countrywood comparatively. I've already hit on, units per acre for the townhomes, overall units, and this density falling consistent with current comp plan as well as proposed ever-evolving new comp plan.
All right, I'll go ahead and go. You ready?
Comment or motion?
No, comments.
Yeah, go ahead.
I haven't got to speak my piece yet. First off, thank you to Steve Pittman for everything you've done. I truly, truly believe that the bridges and the farm are 2 of the most, and probably what will be the most prosperous developments probably in this side of town. I mean, the bridges, no one can drive through the bridges and say that it's not busy every single day, that the parking lot's full. I can't drive through Silo and say that it's not full. That being said, I know what the quality of these developments are. I know what the quality is that you're going to bring to a potential project. That is why I am trying my best to weigh, because Tim, I do believe that quality dictates somewhat more than density, because I believe that when you have a quality product, density will speak for itself. So I am kind of in that boat. I'm not saying that you should throw density completely out, but I am saying that I believe quality should be paramount, and then density will obviously feed into it. But I'm not here to debate quality versus density. What I am here is I guess to bring out some issues, because I guess I'm not really sure right now where my head's at with the 100 units versus the 13, how that impacts. I know everyone here is going to say they don't want any of it, right? I mean, that's probably a given. But what I don't know is what's responsible. So at the end of my comments here, I'm probably going to reference that I think that this should probably be continued. I got 6 additional commitments listed out here. I haven't had time to go through them, decipher them. But I do want to talk about the PUD itself. I'm going to roll through my list of issues. I'm just going to say that I picked out the stuff for me that are probably going to dictate yes or no at the end of the day, just for me. So, Section 5.1, I saw no commitments with regards to, and I'm going to roll through this quick, so you probably have to watch back the playback. Section 5.1, there's no irrigation commitments in the common areas. Section 5.3, I didn't see any buffering or additional mounding along Countrywood. Speaking with a few residents there, I think a 6-foot mound in between Countrywood and the backs of the the backs of the residential lots would probably make a lot of sense. 5.5, I didn't see anything with regards to foundational plantings at the base of the townhomes themselves. I saw foundational plantings for the commercial areas. I didn't see anything for the townhomes. I didn't see any restrictions on drive-throughs. I'm sure the overlay speaks to drive-throughs, but I don't have it memorized as I sit here. So potentially the overlay district, but drive-through restrictions. I saw that there's a commitment for common landscaping. I do have a question about that. Common landscaping, does that include would that be the townhomes themselves?
Street trees, boulevard, common area space, green
But
space.
if I have a patch of grass in front of my townhome, does that get mowed?
Oh, yes, that would be part of the common area.
Okay. I'm just going to come out and say it. I want 100% masonry if I could wave my magic wand on all sides, all 4 sides. On Exhibit 6, which I believe is the conceptual plan, conceptual imagery, I'd like to see masonry on all the homes as well, all the single-family homes. I'd like to see a commitment for more decorative garage doors. Exhibit 7, I am not very fond of the front-load garages as shown on these. I would prefer to see side-load garages where they could be able to incorporated. I think Exhibit 9, I think you can clean up the masonry discussions if you just commit to 100% masonry or stone on every building. I think the single-family homes should have a covered porch on the rear of each of them, no exceptions. I also believe that there should be some considerations to some masonry fireplaces as well on the single-family homes, if that hasn't been discussed yet. But I think the big one right now is that 6-foot mounding or 4 to 6 feet mounding in between Countrywood and in there. Again, I reserve my right to if this doesn't go to a vote tonight, to discuss later about the density issues and the character issues. Those are just my comments about the PUD itself. Take them for what they're worth.
Thank you, Councilman.
Any other questions from councilors?
I had just a couple more comments. The mounding was something I had talked to you about as well. And I wanted to know how long you anticipate the build-out to be, like how many years would this take for the project to go? I originally was going to ask you about the pricing of the homes, but I think you said 500, 650, and 800. Those were my three, so mounding. Well, how long do you think this build would take to make this project?
We anticipate approximately 10 years.
Okay.
Full build out.
Okay.
I spent a couple hours on the phone with several different people, and I found both sides to be very reasonable, and I was thankful for that. And so the most recent call that I had was with Mr. Pittman, and we talked about, I mean, I tried everything. I tried to come up with all scenarios possible, including making the commercial 20 feet or 2 stories so that it would cover. But then when I talked to the remonstrators, none of that stuff matters. The seeing it doesn't matter. To them, it comes down to the townhomes, and to them it sets a precedent that once they creep north, that will continue to happen. So I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, but that to me was one very important feature for them. Another one, obviously, it was stated over and over tonight, and really my biggest concern was the traffic. You know, Mr. Trailer had a child get wrecked at 200 in Michigan Road. I have too, but my kids have wrecked at most intersections around town. Ask State Farm, they'll tell you.
It is true.
13 cars totaled. Their mother taught them how to drive. That's also not true. I think the one thing that resonated, and I already had this thought in my mind, but just hearing it again tonight really resonated with me, and that is we have a substantial number of projects that have yet to come online, and I can't stand driving through my own town right now. In town, out of town, 146th Street, I unfortunately have to travel that all the time, and I want to, well, it's bad. And so those are things that are really weighing heavily on me, you know, as I consider this. You know, even if I took the remonstrators, several of them said that if they would be single family all the way out to Michigan Road, that's a whole different story. It's the townhomes and the traffic, but you know, the single family is not going to change the traffic, and you guys know that. So that's kind of where I am. It's tough. It's tough.
Because I felt like when we were here the last time, like, we kept hearing about, like, you know, it was nothing, right? And now it's, well, maybe some townhomes near Michigan Road. And now what I'm hearing from the community is, we don't want anything there, or we don't want single-family homes. Like, it just feels like constantly, and then it was keep it off 200, so he keeps it off 200, right? And then takes it up, you know, so.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I think I've met with more people than anyone here. I've never heard anyone say nothing. Everyone's always said that they understood that development was coming. It's what is the development going to look like? We have one chance to do this right. We only have one chance.
When it was here last time and it was all single-family homes, right?
Oh, there were townhomes.
Oh, there were
There were
townhomes.
townhomes as part of that?
Yeah.
But I guess my point is this, once it's built, that's what it's going to be forever. Even if in 100 years they're getting torn down and gentrified, those little lots, that's all that's going to be there. That's it. So if we do it right, we are doing rural development in rural spaces. It fits, it keeps us unique. It's all the things that we want. This is our town. It's not the developer's town, it's our town. So we should be the ones dictating. We shouldn't be trying to make concessions here or there on a couple townhomes here or there. Like, if it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
So I'm going to attempt to land the plane here. Any other questions from counselors? Comments? So I do want to, couple of things, speak directly to this council. I appreciate your engagement and involvement here. It takes a lot to dig through this proposal and the upcoming proposals for the rest of this meeting, right? The public, I appreciate your engagement and your involvement. I've been in some pretty heated debates in this room, and this has been handled really, really well tonight, and that's a testament to everyone in here. So thank you all for that. I voted against the last proposal when it came through here, and that was mainly because of density, proximity to the airport, a couple of other things too, but, and fundamentally, some of those things just simply cannot change, right? And I said the same thing to Steve last time when he was here. I love the project. I think it's a great project. I just don't know that this is the right place. And your next question is going to be, then where do I put it? And I don't have an answer for that either. And that really sucks, because I think you do really good work, and I think the development would be certainly a good one. You know, we've referenced oftentimes in these proposals the Union Woodlands, and I think it's important to remember that Union Woodlands was not something that this council took action on. That was a proposal that underlying zoning allowed, and regardless of how much Councilor Traylor, myself, or anybody else spoke up against it, it was going to happen because it could happen. So, I mean, I think, again, I think for me, a lot of the same stuff still exists. You know, the density, I appreciate Kyle walking through the density numbers there. The math's still not mathing for me. I mean, I still think that when I go through and I start pulling numbers on you know, you look at 50,000 feet. Originally, it was 20,000 feet of commercial on 5.5 acres. Now it's 50,000 on 8.5 acres. There's certainly an increase there. I like the commercial component. 120 townhomes goes down to 100. That's still, you know, 5.9, which the old one was 6.1 on 20 or so on 24 acres. So there's a little bit of a difference there. But then you get into the single-family homes, and there's more density on the single-family homes. So, I mean, I think even though and maybe the parks, maybe that park area is kind of helping with the gross density number to drive it down, but
Councilor Plunkett, we're also viewing that through the lens of this development, right? So I'm telling you what the unit per acre count is for this development, not compared to a development that you denied a year ago. And I'm not, and we're also being asked to not make a proposal based off of the comprehensive plan that this town has spent 2 years and 500,000 or whatever amount of money on. We're asked to narrowly look at the existing comp plan and how this fits. And so I guess there's a moving target from this council to this petition of which numbers we should be looking at and which comp plan we should be looking at.
I would
and
disagree
which
with that,
developments
Kyle.
we
I
should
would
be
disagree
looking
with
at.
that. Candidly, we've said from the beginning, you focus on the comprehensive plan that's currently been approved. We can't approve proposals based on
This is our
draft
first time before you,
comprehensive
but candidly, off the record, you have.
plan. So I think that's just important to note that that's been, you know, that's
I'd
been
be happy to show the
communicated.
council a petition of a type of mixed-use campus housing that would actually perfectly meet your comp plan, if this council would oblige. I don't think it would be a proposal that this council would actually support either. So I wonder if this council, as the council continues to look at factors outside of the existing comp plan, such as last year's proposal, perhaps we need to be looking at other factors, like what could a petitioner come and propose and say meets your existing comp plan to the T, and whether or not this council would actually support it. I guarantee that you wouldn't.
You're right. I would agree with that. And that's the whole point. Like that's why we've told developers time and time again, if the land use works, if the zoning works, and you've got a proposal that you can pencil and we can't do anything about it, bring it to us. That's not where we are here. This is a proposal that you guys are bringing here that requires us to make this change. And I would tell you that while respectfully, you know, going through and understanding that this is a different proposal than the one that was presented, the comparisons are the same proposals. The comparisons in the conversations with the developers are with the last proposal compared to this one as well. So the comparisons are there. I mean, that's the foundation for what we have here. Even in the communication about the project, about the changes that have been made, the changes weren't just made out of thin air. The changes were made from the last proposal.
Well, and the council would be evaluating this petition and how it's matured and how it's
Agreed.
improved.
I'm just telling you the reasons I said no last time.
And I'd be happy to
were
give you
based
comparison
on-
numbers of how this compares to other townhomes in this community, or how how this density compares to other community neighborhoods, as opposed to comparing this to a comp plan you're about to replace or a proposal that you've already denied. And President Blunkett, I respectfully appreciate how you've acknowledged that we're in a really tough position, but the petitioner is also trying to show you that the alternatives are not something that this council would support either.
And you have the alternative prepared as a slide?
I can show you something that exists in
He
Hamilton.
he could show renderings, but we don't have a development plan in front of us with what's approved.
Right.
I mean, that's
I can
the
show you
thing.
an example of campus housing in Hamilton County, and.
Well, no, it's in here.
And,
mean, you've
and I
got
don't
stuff
have
in
to
here.
show it on the screen, it's in your packet,
But,
right?
but I think the fact of the matter is, we're not over the barrel on this or nothing, or this or that. It's this or nothing at this point.
And it is
that's-
still zoned ag.
That's the way I think, candidly, this should be reviewed. It's not this or the next person standing out in the hallway that's going to bring us a proposal.
Yeah, I think the ship has probably sailed on something that could have been a project that would have fit to a T, the last comp plan. So I don't know that I would have been someone to deny that, as someone who voted for the plan from 2022. In fact, 3 of us did. In fact, I had some conversations recently, like, is there a way to move back to a campus-style approach that kind of had more of an EPCON kind of feel, which I think a lot of people were appealing to, an over 55 kind of thing, and didn't seem to be in the cards. I think it was too late down the road on where we were.
Yeah, the density just wouldn't be a number that this council would support, but based off of tonight's comments. Right, it doesn't change the number. A campus-style, single-story campus-style equates to a density of 5 to 6 units per acre. And in fact, there's studies by, Urban Land Institute and otherwise that are out there that townhomes actually result in less traffic than single-family residents.
I can only speak for myself in terms of a commitment to the comp plan length. And I know that I'm maybe an outlier on prioritizing that. Until this changes, and then once this does change, I guess I would just put anyone bringing a project on notice. If it really doesn't fit this new comp plan that we just spent $500,000 in 2 years doing, I really don't have much an appetite, unless it's something that's going to blow my mind and something I just haven't seen, like the Ray Hall project or something that's just it's too obvious to turn down. But otherwise, I'm going to be pretty firm that this is, and I think that's what developers want. They're also telling me, like, we want to know where the guardrails are. We want to know what you want to build. I'll go out and make that happen. And we should be partners in this. It's not adversarial, right? This is what we want. Let's go find a solution to do that. And I put a lot of weight on the comp plan. I'm going to continue to put a lot of weight on the comp plan. I guess I would want some clarification. I mentioned this when I started my comments, and I guess it's a question for Mr. Dale, but did the Plan Commission and the staff approve this as being germane to the current comp plan, or was there conversation that this seemed to fit where we were going with a draft?
Primarily, the conversation was on the current comprehensive plan, though there was mention in the staff report of the draft.
The emphasis is on the current.
That's
plan.
right.
Has always been.
Yes.
Really on the current plan.
Absolutely.
That's what you've looked at. That's what, I know people are trying to read the tea leaves, but I think that's all we have to go on. Right.
Plan Commission and the petitioner spoke when the Plan Commission hosted 3 public hearings, certainly at the second one and the third one, and offline, we were referring to the existing comp plan, and they voted a 4-1 recommendation based off of the existing comp plan.
Yeah, and I think they should have.
All right, any questions from counselors?
Thank you, Counselor.
Any additional questions, comments? At this point, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion it's to deny, so would you prefer that it be a motion to approve?
I mean, I will, at this point, I'm entertaining motion, so.
I'll entertain a motion to continue.
So I've got a motion to continue by Counselor Norris,
Second.
a second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Aye.
Or-
Oh, I said aye.
It's 4-3.
So 3 to 4, right?
3 to 4, yeah. It
Yeah.
loses.
Okay, so that motion fails. Is there another motion on the table?
Yeah, I would make a motion to deny ordinance 2026-08, the Woodland Grove PUD District Ordinance.
So I have a first from Counselor McElderry to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Counselor Stein. So Heather, motion to deny, which I guess we don't have to worry about till it comes through, right? Okay, so there's a motion on the table to deny from Counselor McElderry and a second from Counselor Stein.
Yes, so a yes vote is to support the motion, which would be to defeat the petition.
Okay,
Voice clear as mud.
all right. Amy, will you do a roll call vote on this, please? Yes.
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 No,
Hold on, please, hold on, please, hold on, please.
I'm still voting. No.
No.
All right, motion to deny the petition passes 5 in favor, 2 opposed. Thank you. I think at this point, those of you that are here for this, we'll give you a couple minutes to clear out if you want. Can we, in the back, can we shut IT down for a second? Can you come, Brad, you want to come up here? We're going to get started.
Okay.
You're a yes on the
Motion
first
to
one.
deny.
We're going to do it differently eventually, but we gotta.
Okay.
Thanks, boss.
Yeah, motion to deny is there. You good? All right. We will, I guess
I would too.
all right, we're going to dive back into the meeting here with the next item of old business, which is a consideration of a resolution regarding the Town of Zionsville Comprehensive Plan, Resolution 2026-02, continued from the April 20th, 2026 meeting. We've got Mike Dale here. Is Adam here?
Yes.
Yep, Adam's here.
Hey, Adam.
Don't you like spending your evenings in Zionsville, Adam? You've been doing that quite a bit.
He does. Yes.
That's the right answer.
Adam, the good news is, I think this should go a lot smoother now, because we have a vote. I've got some direction.
All right.
Well,
I hope it does.
good evening. My name is Adam Pieper. I'm a community planner with HWC Engineering. Address is 135 North Pennsylvania Street, Suite 2800, Indianapolis, Indiana. Here before you tonight to discuss the draft comprehensive plan and really, try to summarize the feedback that we've received in the past couple work sessions with you all that has been documented in a list of specific changes to the draft plan that was forwarded by the Plan Commission. I won't read all of those, but I'm happy to answer any questions about them, really. I think for the most part, we left those work sessions with an understanding of the direction or the desired edit, and that's what we're trying to document. There are just a couple items that we discussed, discussing at this meeting, and those areas are specifically the one that was just subject of that petition and slightly larger area, generally at the southeast corner of US 421 and County Road 200 South. The draft plan forwarded by the Plan Commission identifies that area as potential mixed residential classification. There was also a comment regarding the yellow box there that is outlined that is conventional subdivision. If you recall in our conversations, ultimately it was discussed that that stay conventional subdivision, and the proposed edits or discussion centered around the triangular area, for lack of a better term. So as we discussed just last week, the frontage being commercial along 421 to a depth of 400 feet to match the overlay district. I think there was generally, the conversation generally included the portion on the south side of 200 South to be rural and state residential, and then there was some back and forth between whether the remaining piece should be conventional subdivision or mixed residential. The other item is regarding the area south of the Village Business District. So based on the conversations, we did heavily amend those pages in the plan. We basically removed the plan graphic in what was the sketch. Also took out the kind of guiding principles table that was in there, and amended the text to reference the importance of this area, some of the recent discussions, and that the direction would be to evaluate this on a case-by-case basis. The question that we left was, is there some desire for at least some minimal amount of graphic that could reinforce some of the language that's in the plan? So that language we stripped out, things specific to use, mixed use, and then similarly on a plan graphic like I have up here, we basically removed the land use blocks, removed potential building footprints. So it gets to these blue areas that are kind of potential redevelopment areas while still emphasizing open space, green space, trails along the creek corridor. So just looking for either confirmation of including something like this in the plan, or contrarily, leave this out and keep the language as amended, but not have any plan graphics with respect to this area. I will also just note, a comment or an email was given to me just before the meeting that I believe was sent to you all with a request to include some objectives related to recognizing arts and culture as part of placemaking and economic development strategies, language supporting the integration of public art into streetscapes, gateways, and gathering spaces, and then a reference to the Arts Master Plan, which my understanding is would be completed soon. So I just want to acknowledge that and defer to you all whether you would like that to be incorporated. I think we can easily do that or not.
Yeah, I gave that to you from Main Street, and I thought it was, you probably all got the same email from Erica. I thought it made sense, probably was an oversight. If everyone's okay, that we should probably add.
Yeah, it just hurts my heart that we're like 2 years into the process, and
I know.
And it's like we're doing it at the end, but I understand. It's really just a placemaking. It really doesn't impact
It really
anything.
it does define, I think, our community and who we are and how we brand ourselves as an arts community.
That is
Just
a
miss.
committee that I'm on, and I think just one of those, maybe even upcoming, on that page that we talked about, the projects that are upcoming, is there a way to just have a little blurb about it? That we've, a new drive for the arts community?
Yeah, I'll say, I mean,
I don't think you need to write a whole nother chapter.
Yeah, and I've just read this, but I think we do have a placemaking section in the plan. There is a goal related to gateways where I think we could easily incorporate the language regarding public art at streetscapes and gateways. So, again, happy to make the edit. What I would say is, and I guess to go back a bit, I'm sorry, our understanding is you all are interested in looking at the summarized list of edits, confirming that with minor additions or corrections, so that we would be back before you at your next meeting, which I believe is May 18th.
I think there was really only two things, maybe one thing that the council had left unresolved in the last meeting that there was not consensus on, which was the first item, Adam, that you discussed, so maybe go back to that. And I think what we decided in the meeting was that we would take a vote here on either alternative A, well, the current draft, alternative A or alternative B, if someone wanted to make a motion. And that would not be locking you into a final vote on the comprehensive plan. We simply just need to get something in paper that the community knows we're putting forward for a vote, and we don't have consensus out of the last meeting. So maybe on that item, the future land use map, those are the three current options that we've discussed. What was presented from the Plan Commission, alternative A and alternative B. And I don't think we need to do a formal vote, but we just didn't have everyone here last time to have a clear vote on direction for Adam and his team.
How should we?
Just maybe, I would support alternative A or B, and then show of hands, maybe?
Yeah.
I actually got some contact about how it was in the first place, about how we're changing what the consensus was for, by choosing between A and B, that we've made so many changes to what the planning and whole process came up with. Did anyone else get that email?
Yeah, we had a remonstrator tonight, too.
Yeah. I mean, I thought there was some merit to that. Or, like, just kind of gut check here. Did we need, if the comprehensive plan is truly a guide and not a resolution or an ordinance for every zoning part of it. It's a guide. Are we micromanaging just a little much at some point? Or, I mean, I'm just gut checking right here because we spent $450,000. It was brought up multiple times tonight. That was ARPA money, so it was provided by the federal government. I do think we said we were doing this to bring like a future plan. It doesn't have to necessarily pop in or block whatever. It's supposed to be a guide. Are we getting, I mean, I'm looking at this wedged out commercial, but we just had commercial, but we didn't want commercial. Like, everybody who is here spoke to many of your hearts, which is good. We should absolutely consider the people. But we must consider that there are 35,000 people and that the people who are upset are who are going to show up. My constituents have repeatedly told me, help me with my property tax. And I thought that was the point of us doing a comprehensive plan, was to have a way to outline where we were going to bring in more commercial. And or bring in more tax revenue. And then we went and undid a lot of it. And I recognize, as Councilor McElderry strongly told me, that the people that live right there feel the strongest, and I believe in that. But my vote comes from what is the best for the town while weighing the people that live closest to an area. So I've been asked to find a way to keep property taxes in check, to help our school referendums actually be lower, because as anyone has looked at their tax bill, we're 1/3 of their tax bill. And I just look at some of this going, what are we doing? Can you tell me what we're doing here? Because I'm fine, promise you, no strong feeling that the last vote did not go the way I voted. Honestly, that's why there's 7 of us to have a vote. And we don't group think. We bring our individual opinions that should represent 35,000 people. And so I'm saying, are we looking at this from 35,000 people point of view, or are we, I mean, these are pretty specific shapes here on a tiny little area. What are we doing?
Well, the black lines go away as soon as we decide. So don't get caught up in the little boxes. My question to you is, do you believe that the December 19th draft generates more tax revenue than alternate A or B? I'm not sure where you're going with the tax revenue.
I guess what I'm really thinking is, some of the remonstrance obviously was about townhomes, but some of it was about commercial at all too. People they only wanted housing. So I'm just saying, like, as we listened to everyone, they spoke very eloquently about their passion for rural. None of that is this.
I think if they had I know if I had my preference, it'd be all estate residential, all of it. But that's not going to happen.
Right up
I know,
against
I understand that.
a
So
federal
my
highway.
concession was to allow for the commercial along Michigan Road, which we already know the Michigan overlay allows for some forms of commercial, which helps you with that tax revenue part at 3%, and then back it up with a clean yellow line that runs all the way across there, which is conventional subdivision with estate residential to the top. To me, alternate A, take all the black lines out of there, makes the most sense for the community.
What is listed in the mixed residential original designation?
Sure. The primary uses listed under mixed residential are single-family detached dwellings, townhomes, duplexes, patio homes, senior living, and assisted living. And then secondary uses are community facilities, religious institutions, parks and open space, and limited neighborhood commercial uses, with a note about key locations and generally favoring smaller building sizes and buffering from homes.
Nothing really resident or commercial at all.
With the
exception of maybe the assisted living.
Or, and again, as a secondary use, some limited neighborhood commercial that would be at, a key intersection to serve nearby homes, but, yeah.
We're losing nothing in terms of commercial opportunities with either one. We've got red up front, you got the overlay district, that's all the commercial that was going to be there anyway, and that was the proposal tonight for commercial there. That's what fits there, that's what's going to probably be there. The question really is, what's behind it? And what I heard loud and clear tonight was not townhomes and not that kind of density. So if the folks in this room really want it, now, there's not going to be nothing, but if they really feel like we can put a conventional subdivision in there with the proper zoning, let's see if someone will go for it. That's what I heard that people wanted. I don't think it makes sense on this map to all of a sudden we got a mixed use, and then we got a spot, and then we pick back up this little diamond at the bottom. I think it makes sense to draw it across and see what's developed there. It's not going to stop anyone from bringing a PUD forward.
What was there in our current comprehensive plan?
Well, the current comprehensive plan would include the airport study amendment, and this area is that campus housing.
Are we doing any sort of downgrade of zoning if we do this? Like, are we opening ourselves to?
Well, the zoning right now is all agricultural, I believe.
Okay. I didn't know if it was all ag now.
It is agricultural zoning, as we discussed. I mean, there are a couple commercial businesses there right now that
Yeah, that's why I
comply
didn't think it was
with
all.
the agricultural zoning.
The golf course.
The driving range.
Is that called ag?
And the winery are within the agriculture district.
Well, I know that the winery is. I
Yeah.
just didn't know that the golf course was.
I will be honest and say I don't know if that is a permitted use within the agricultural district in your rural area, or if that was a pre-existing, or the technical term would be legal non-conforming. So I don't know the history of that property, but.
So we've got, basically what we've got in front of us, draft from December 19th is mixed residential, which, as you've already read, single-family detached dwellings, townhomes, duplexes, patio homes, senior living, assisted living. Alternative A would be to put commercial that's consistent with the overlay, and then have the rest conventional subdivision, which just has primary use as single-family detached dwellings, secondary use, community facilities, religious institutions, parks, and open space. And then that would match up with the conventional subdivision that is to the east of there. So our options are, or we put in mixed residential in that spot instead of conventional subdivision, which I think last time we talked about it, we were 3-3. Joe wasn't here, right? I mean, I think, Heather, I don't know what, I do feel like we need to have some resolution here so we can move on.
I think Adam and I agree, we'd like to have some resolution. The thought would be, I mean, I would say, whoever feels strongly, say, show of hands for option 1, 2, or 3, see where the vote lands. I mean, I think Councilor McElderry, if I recall, option A was really the proposal that you originally made, and then B was the alternative proposal made in the last conversation. And again, I guess just for the public, for the importance of the public, this is just to be included in the final draft that will come to the town council, so you'll have the opportunity for further comment, and you can submit written comments that can go in the packet if you have it to Amy by the 18th of May. So there's no final vote. This is just getting us something you guys can vote on.
Okay, so I mean, I'm, again, just an effort to kind of move this along. The draft has obviously modifications, so alternative A, raise your hand if you want alternative A.
Or the December 19th there?
Yeah, I don't know what's A.
Well, I mean, well, A's the
Like
one right.
actually, A, we're
the
not
one's right-
doing, we're not going to say keep. So that's off the table. It's only A or B?
Well, I mean, I think the reality is what we've heard overwhelmingly I think tonight and through this process is the townhome proposals are not what's desired in that scenario. So the draft from December 19th has townhomes as a use, mixed residential right there on 421. Option A is a commercial alignment with the overlay district and conventional subdivision. Alternative B is a commercial to align with the overlay with mixed residential. And I think
I
we
get what
heard,
you're saying
I think we
now.
heard
Yeah.
tonight that,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So-
I mean, I don't love alternative A because we didn't include future commercial anywhere else on the map, right, Adam? We only used red.
For the most part, yeah, the areas classified as commercial on the map align with existing commercial uses, and future commercial development is intended to occur within the activity centers and as well as the office and innovation
Yeah,
spaces.
so I guess if given the alternative, I mean, yes, I'll vote for A.
Well, let's
but
do
I
it
think the
again.
Red.
Alternative A, raise your hand. All right, so we're all in favor of alternative A.
Sure.
All right.
Other comments tonight were made as well. Ms. Snodgrass brought up the 30%. Did we take that out? Or did
We didn't put it in.
Correct.
It was never in.
Yeah, there is certainly numerous places where the plan emphasizes a need to protect open spaces, ecologically sensitive areas, habitat corridors. The plan itself does not include a specific percentage of open space that must be protected in future developments. That would ultimately need to be implemented through zoning.
Through zoning.
Or subdivision control and PUD ordinances. So as we discussed that, I think my understanding was the numerous places the plan discusses that are sufficient, and ultimately the zoning amendment would be necessary, and that's the place to handle a specific percentage if that is desired by the town.
Do you see specific percentages put in the comp plans?
Not typically, no.
Okay.
I think that we had that whole conversation about it in your office when we were trying to review it.
Yeah, I think I will say there's some concern, and you may have a property that's heavily impacted by a floodplain where they're going to need to leave more than 30% open space anyways.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Or that, depending on what type of buffers are desired or stormwater requirements, you may be able to meet that requirement without actually making a more usable, accessible, or beneficial open space. So I think not to diminish the value of a percentage, again, it's certainly common in zoning ordinances, but at the comprehensive plan level, I would say
Okay, so
focus on the policy goals.
So I think the only other unresolved issue is the graphic depictions in the South Village, and I think that's the only other thing to decide before we'll have a final draft for the meeting on the 18th.
Correct.
Can you go to that slide?
Also brought up that office and innovation. I know we've talked about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't want Westfield dictating what we do, but I'm completely agnostic to it at the
just
same
wanted to bring
time.
up that-
Yeah, no, I understand. We talked about it. And so, I mean, I'm fine with it.
I guess the only comment I would make about that, as I've dug into the airport area strategic land use plan, like it's a master's thesis. But anyway, all that being said, if you look at that on page 12, where there's a strategic land use map, this is the current comp plan. It calls that employer sites district, which is similar aims on what we're trying to accomplish. And I'm just pointing out that it does go from 32 down to 200.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean we can't eliminate it, but I guess the point I would make to folks who are concerned about that, that's not new. That's not something we changed in the comp plan. That's what's already there. That was decided in 2022. Doesn't mean we can't change it, but it's not a new change that we've made. Does that make sense? So that was always identified as something that would be developed around commercial development around the airport. Now, if you want to change it and bump it back up to, what, 160th Street or whatever?
166.
The reality is, it's gonna take 20-plus years for anything to get there anyway.
Right,
So
it's probably going to
what's-
work its way
I mean,
down
it's-
anyway.
If it was already there, why are we changing that?
We're
You're
not
saying that
changing, I just
was-
wanted to point out that we've been asked to change it, or we've changed it back, that we've made a change people don't like. And I'm just pointing out that it wasn't a change that's different than the last comp plan.
Right. Okay.
South Village box. Going back.
South Village.
It's nasty.
I don't like all this blue stuff.
Okay.
I don't have glasses on. Let me see what it.
I mean, I don't necessarily mind if we're going to have something in there that just says, listen, this is defining this particular area south of the Village Business District. I don't know why the town parking lot just north of the Dog Bone Roundabout is in there. I mean, that's something that I don't know that should be identified as development target, you know what I mean?
Yep.
So, and then I think if you go to page 176, you don't have to, I'll just read real quick. It says this area is recommended for an activity center that reflects the unique and historic character of the village with new uses that could further enhance the entire downtown's potential as both a local and regional destination. And then it goes through and obviously, you know, identifies, you know, certain things. I just want to make sure that that's not the activity centers that we saw earlier that had multifamily in it.
Correct. And another one of the edits was on page 63. Apartments are no longer listed as either a primary or secondary use within the regional activity center area.
Perfect.
But you're not calling this a regional activity center at all. It's,
Well, but it's an activity center.
It is. It is, I mean, in including it, you know, we don't want to leave it blank on the future land use map. So the future land use map does classify this area as a regional activity center.
I like what you've done with this. I thought this is much better than pulling it out. I don't think you could just have it be absent from the plan. It's you know, it's a significant part of what's going to be developed. I got the impression, though, that it was going to be kind of some language around that wasn't elsewhere in the document. So I'm okay with that. I just got to make sure in my mind now, I've got to go back and read the Regional Activity Center to make sure everything that's an accepted use in there makes sense.
So I think the Regional Activity Center and the Neighborhood Activity Center uses for apartments have been pulled across the board.
Correct.
But to Councilor, or Vice President Burke's point, I do remember we had some language around there not being a consistent vision for South Village, and was that added, or was that just in the notes? I would like to see that in there. I think it's important. And then just for this council, once that's confirmed, that's pretty much all I have.
That's it, yeah.
All right, what page is that on, Adam?
I'm on
99?
On page 186. So the area represents a highly visible and important part of the community, and planning efforts have reflected a range of perspectives regarding its future. Given the lack of clear consensus, it's important that flexibility be maintained. The Town Plan Commission and Town Council should continue to evaluate proposals on a case-by-case basis, considering design quality, compatibility with surrounding areas, infrastructure impacts, and alignment with the community's broader vision.
That's good. That's good for me. That's good for me. I said this earlier on the other petitions, but my gosh, you guys have done a lot of heavy lifting here, so good job, all of you.
Yeah, so just to confirm, I mean, I was reading through Regional Activity Center. I think it all makes sense. I mean, there's nothing in here that I don't think makes sense. Is that what you just said, Jason?
Yeah,
Well, great minds think alike.
I'm good with it.
Yeah. That's what I'm make sure.
So Heather, what do we do here? Do we take a vote?
So you just need, nope, I don't think we need a vote. You just need a motion to continue it to the May 18th meeting.
Motion to continue.
Second.
So the motion would be to continue with the accepted modifications and amendments to,
You don't even need all that because this has just been a working discussion just to get us what we did in
The
our-
public, just so
in our
they know
special
that's
meeting.
the-
Yes, we will be incorporating all of these changes, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
make that as part of your formal motion. We're just continuing it.
I motion to continue to May 18th, 16th, something? 18th. It's past 10 o'clock, so I'm tired.
the 18th.
I'm
Well,
morning.
all right, hold on a second, because
Yeah.
Counselor Norris did make a motion initially. So we're going to go back to this. Counselor Norris made a motion, Counselor Sampson
Second.
seconded it. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. This will be placed on the Monday morning, May 18th meeting for vote, unless we continue it there.
Adam, you can come back one more time for breakfast.
I will be back, and I will have an updated full PDF and an updated edit tracking list to you, if not tomorrow, Wednesday morning.
Will that also be on the Uniquely Zionsville website for the
Yes,
public to
so
see?
the list as it stands right now, and this PDF are up there right now, we will update and replace those.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you to the public, too. It's been mentioned a number of times for people that came up here. You guys put a significant amount of effort into this, a tremendous amount of meetings. Mike and his team, you guys have all done a great job, so thank you, Adam, and your team, and appreciate us getting to this point.
Thank you.
All right. First item of new business.
Oh, Lord.
We have consideration of a salary ordinance amendment. This is a first reading, ordinance 2026-10. We have Joe Keel, Director of Human Resources.
Joe. You waited for this moment all night.
Hopefully, there will not be that much deliberating. Good evening. Joe Keel, Director of Human Resources. As you read in the packet, I'm here to request an update to the 2026 salary ordinance to reflect the changes in the IT department and the planning and building department job titles.
Are there any questions for Joe? Appreciate the memo that was provided.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, if there are no questions, is there any particular reason, Joe, you
I
would
would
want to
love
come
to
back and
do-
do this again?
No, I would love to get it
Yeah, I
done
mean,
tonight.
I think, so I would make a motion to introduce ordinance 2026-10.
Second.
I have a second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Second from Counselor Norris. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2026-10 on final reading.
Second.
Second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you.
See, it was worth the wait.
All right. Up next on the agenda is a consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Zionsville zoning ordinance, petition 2025-75-Z. This is the Pulte, Smith, Monsoori, Bradbury, ordinance 2026-12. There's been a request to continue this to the June 1st meeting. So I will make a motion to continue this.
Second.
A second from Vice President Burke. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Up next is a consideration of an ordinance amending the Town of Zionsville zoning ordinance, petition 2026-20-Z for Vickery. This is ordinance 2026-13. Mike Dale, Director of Planning and Building.
Yes, good evening. John Vickery with Perfection Products is requesting to rezone 0.55 acres from the town's agriculture zoning district to the I-1 Rural Light Industrial Zoning District. The site is located in the original plat of Gadsden, located north of State Road 32 on County Road 650 East, west side of 650 East in Union Township. The property consists of 3 parcels, 3 platted lots, in fact, already developed with a 5,000 square foot storage building. The current agricultural zoning does not support the current use of the site for material storage, it being zoned agriculture, and the site being used, that 5,000 square foot building being used for material storage, and the current zoning would not support the owner's future desire for a manufacturing business at this location. The proposed zoning, I-1, would support the existing storage building, material storage building, and would support the future manufacturing at this location. North of the site is a church-zoned agriculture. East of the site are residential and commercial uses in the I-1 light industrial zoning district. South are storage buildings in the I-1, and west is farmland zoned ag. So this area is already in large part zoned for light industrial uses to the east and south of the site. The comprehensive plan, however, designates this area for rural general agriculture. So the comp plan identifies this area best designed for general agricultural uses, the purpose being to preserve farmland and significant open lands while allowing landowners a reasonable return on their holdings. However, given the site's industrial use, its history of being used for material storage, and the adjacent non-residential uses in this area of Gadsden, and the adjacent I-1 zoning, staff and the Plan Commission are supportive of this rezoning. Therefore, on April 21st of this year, the Plan Commission forwarded a unanimous favorable recommendation to the Town Council.
Any questions for Mr. Dale?
Like, how long has this property been used in this fashion?
It predates the town's incorporation of the area. It was part of Boone County's zoning and planning and permitting. So we don't know, frankly, it being built when Boone County had jurisdiction.
I was kind of leading into that because I watched the Planning Commission meeting, and I believe they've been there for decades. 74?
1971, we were incorporated across the street in Gaston. 1971, the company was incorporated, and we owned the property across.
I hate to ask you to repeat this again. If
Sorry.
you wouldn't mind, just say your name and address for the record, and then you got to repeat everything you just said.
My name is Michelle Vickery. My husband, John Vickery, owns Perfection Products.
I'm Caleb Vickery.
In 1971, Perfection Products was incorporated. They began across the street, which I believe the Chicken Nugget Gang is there now. And then we had the warehouse storage we built in 1994. And we've stored material and used it for our business. And then when we discovered our property cards still showed commercial, then when we came to the town, they said, no, it was zoned ag.
You mean it said agriculture?
Correct.
Even though you were using it for commercial use?
But the property card, our real estate agent, when they pulled the property card, it was,
So the annexation actually changed the zoning unbeknownst to you?
Correct.
Is that right?
So for the record, I'm Lindsay Musgrave, the local real estate agent, and then also just total transparency, niece of John Vickery. So just help them through this process. So the property card from the assessor's office and all the history at the county has this property zoned commercial. So when you pull the commercial or the property card at the assessor's office, it shows a reading of C3, which is a commercial zoning local business through Boone County. And then in further investigations, the zoning itself is ag. So in 1994, they were zoned local business to be able to build this within a commercial zoning used for their current business at the time. They've outgrown that space. They're now in Lebanon, Indiana. And so they've just continued to use it for their storage of their manufactured goods.
Yeah, sorry. I only asked that question just to set you guys up, because I do watch the Planning Commission meetings in my spare time, and I was like, oh my gosh, like the Planning Commission was like, it's a no-brainer, right? So I just brought that up because you guys have been operating. We're proud to have you in Zionsville. Thank you for being here. Wish your other site was here in Zionsville as too instead of Lebanon, but that's fine. I just brought that up for that reason.
I'm glad you did, and again, I don't think anyone's opposed to it. I just wanted to understand like what the mistake was.
Any other questions or comments from councilors? This came from the Plan Commission, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is one vote on this, for the record. So at this point, I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
I have a first from Counselor Norris, a second from Counselor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. Thank you. Up next on the agenda is a consideration of a waiver of noncompliance resolution. This is Resolution 2026-16. We have Deputy Mayor Justin Hage here to present, and Andrew Perry with Browning to answer questions.
Thank you, councilors. I'll bring us home here relatively quickly, I hope. So this council awarded an abatement to Prologis back in August of, 2020, for the construction of what is now the Subaru warehouse on 267 in the former Perry Township. A joint venture was then created between Browning and Prologis, and that abatement was assigned to that entity. Their first year of full assessment was last year, and I think due to an oversight, there was not the proper filing for their abatement. So therefore, the only way for them to be able to file for that abatement is for a waiver from this body, which is the body that gave the tax abatement back in 2020. This resolution allows for that and allows them to file as such. They're in full compliance. Actually, they're above their required investment amount. For what it's worth, I think this is a necessary waiver in terms of giving them the opportunity to file. They've, again, are in full compliance. I think lesson learned. So I think the opportunity here for this evening is to grant this resolution, allow them to waive that exact requirement and still be able to file. And again, we do have Andrew here if you have any questions. This is not creating a fiscal impact to the town. The town already had this abatement built into its budget. And again, they're in full compliance with everything they were supposed to be doing. It was just an oversight, I think, as it relates to the company. I will say also for the record that understanding our future abatements, I have had conversations with our Director of Finance of Records about building a process to reach out to all of those with abatements about 10 business days prior to this deadline, so we don't have this issue in the future. But again, happy to answer any questions. We also have Andrew here from Browning.
Any questions from councilors? Having none, I would move to approve Resolution 2026-16.
Second.
Second from, is that Counselor Melton? Second from Counselor Melton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. I'm just curious real quick. I've got Lance and Captain Kleiken. I have 2 additional appropriations. Are these for next meeting that just happened to get here today?
Yeah, those have been moved to the next meeting.
Okay, all right. You guys can go back to your naps. Sorry about that.
Excuse me, they're providing security in the back.
All right. Anything else from counselors?
Yeah, tomorrow is primary election day. Town hall will be closed. Make sure we get out and vote. Yeah. And a great Brick Street Market, by the way. I want to give a shout out to.
Brick Street Market was amazing.
To the chamber. They did an excellent job of last weekend. It was so crowded. It was no walking room. Go ahead.
If anybody's going to Boone County to vote, you're going to vote in the annex, not in the courthouse tomorrow.
At the fairgrounds?
No, the annex on the north end.
Oh, on the north side.
On the north side
square,
of the courthouse. The courthouse is closed tomorrow.
All right. And in Zionsville or this surrounding area, you can vote here, Whitestown Town Hall, and both Hussey Mayfield Library locations, 6 to 6. So, anything else? I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second from Counselor Sampson. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 7 in favor, 0 opposed. The next regular town council meeting is scheduled for Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 7:30 a.m. in the Zionsville Town Hall Council Chambers. Final notice will be posted in compliance with the Indiana Open Door Law.